make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be. Like the others, you were strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw.
Okay, Gamzly, we're going to go live. Do the face. Perfect, perfect. Welcome, everybody, to the Xbox Series podcast. This is how we start every week. Gamzly, you can unfreeze. You're live. We are live. This is episode 14 of the Xbox Series podcast. And straight up, it's been a little bit of a sad week for Xbox, hasn't it? So obviously, we're going to have to get into the topic that everyone expects us to talk about. But before we do that, we're going to have a nice little chat about life and games. Deadly Headley, how have you been for the week?
I'm doing all right, mate. I'm doing all right. I am loving the summer weather that's come back into the UK. So, yeah, if you're on these isles with us, it is glorious outside, and the horrible, miserable, sad weather has gone for at least a couple of weeks, and then it will probably come back. So, yeah, it's been the highlight of my day this week.
Do you know, I'm the opposite. I'm like, oh, the weather's turned sunny. I hate it. Bring back the rain. So I'm glad we're only getting a couple of weeks of this. I'm suffering in the warmth. Gamzly, you can unfreeze your face, sir, and tell us.
Oh,
First of all, I want you to tell us how you've been, but I also want you to tell us when you're supposed to be. You're due to be free of that prison soon, right? What's happening?
I freaking hope so. I don't know. I've got my gel in. I don't know. Mates have been keeping me here a little longer than I wanted to. I should be next week. I should be out of here, and I should have a different backdrop. I'm ready to get out. Asa, help me, please help me. I'm doing good.
I've been trying. Xbox, you're doing good.
They're fucking burning.
Burning. Oh.
I'm kidding. This is a joke.
I know, and it's going to be like, obviously we're going to cover that real soon, but before we do, I always like to talk about games, right? So we start on a positive, because games are what we love doing, and we're going to start with you, Gamzly. What have you been playing this week?
Yes. Oh my god. Okay, so I had completed Sandland last week. So that was nice, but at the end of the week, I used that game as like my little go to bed game. I played it mostly on Legion. In bed with my girlfriend, and we kind of do these little gaming sessions next to each other. She'll play on her Switch, I'll play on my Legion Go. It's a cute little thing that we do, and we just talk about it. So that's been my in-bed game time. And I knocked it out, and I didn't do much of the side quests, so it took me 4 hours-ish to complete it. I mostly did a mainline playthrough of it. I freaking love that game. It really was cozy and fun. So I'm doubling down on this. It's a good ass anime game. Last time I was talking about how it was like better than average anime game, but this is one of the best ones that I've played. I love it. I love the themes. I love the combat. It is a little dry if you're out of the tank, but you get like mechs and all these different suits, and it just adds layers to the vehicle combat at least, and it's just a fun time. So go play that if you get a chance.
This is like you alluded to it there. Last week you were much more passive on this one. Like it was it was an okay gameplay if you like anime games last time, and this week your tune has changed to be like a lot more positive. Without
Yes.
spoilerizing it, what would you say has changed your mind? What's made it so much more gripping since you played it a bit more?
Well, to say, first off, I wasn't down on it. I enjoyed it heavily. I did say last week that I really did enjoy it as an anime game. It just clicked with me more. As you keep going, you unlock, like I said, you have the tank where you could customize it a ton. Like you go around the map, you'll get different like speed boosts for your tank. You get different guns for your tank. You could really dig into the customization with your tank and your vehicle. But then you get to a point where you get this mech called the Jumper, and it's just a different vehicle. It's this mechanized suit, and you just hop in it, and this thing could jump. So now all of a sudden you could reach higher areas, and it becomes more like platforming in a way. It adds like a layer of platforming, not in like don't misquote me. It's not like, oh, it becomes a platforming game. No, it just adds a little layer to the level design from that point on to access different areas and different treasures and different whatever. So once you unlock that suit, everything's just more fun. And then you unlock the next one and the next one, and it's just so satisfying. And the story does pick up. I would say about 8 hours 8 hours in, you get to a certain spot that looks very different than a desert.
Hmm.
Okay, depending on the speed you go through this thing, and it just really gets intriguing after that, and it's just nice. As I said, it just builds up. So that's why. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I've really quickly got to shout out Just James 93 for simultaneously making our Discord sound like the best and the worst place to be in one sentence. It's like, it's brilliant. We've just been talking about roads in the UK. Roads in the UK. That makes it sound awful, James, but I'm glad you're having a good time. James has only been in there a couple of days, so one of the newcomers, and it is a good place. Do get in there. You don't have to talk about UK roads. There's games and all sorts of other topics as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly.
And
So I was
games.
already going to play Sandland. Now I'm still going to play Sandland. You haven't changed my mind in that regard, but you definitely came across a lot more positive this time, even mentioning the 3D platforming, which I'm not usually a fan of. I'm still in for it. I'm still going to play it.
Don't worry about that. It's very bare bones. It's not. It doesn't give like a whole dimension. It's not like you're in Elden Ring with the density of Elden Ring, and you give your dude a jump. No, it's very small scale, but it's just enough to twist the gameplay a little bit. So and to reach other layers of gameplay, but it's nothing crazy.
No, Flush, I haven't finished that game. I'm getting there. I'm working through everything very, very slowly. Deadly Headley. I'll come back to you, Gamzly, because I'm sure you played more than one. But Deadly Headley, What have you been playing this week? Have you had some time?
I have. I both actually along the same themes as each other. Both star-based. They are Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Starfield. I've been enjoying my time with both of those.
You're ahead of the update, aren't you, for Starfield? Why have you gone back to that now?
I am. Honestly, talking about it last week, so it just gave me that craving. I actually really missed my Starfield playthrough. I still need to go back and finish Baldur's Gate 3. It's still...
Look funny.
We did.
Yeah, this is...
I've screen grabbed that.
We should be back live now, so if we dropped off then, if you can see this, please hit refresh and you'll be back with us. We were just talking about Deadly Headley's lack of willpower. When he heard about Starfield, he heard there was an update coming in just 2 short weeks' time, and he could not keep his hands off of it. So, let's just pick up exactly where we were from there.
Me.
You got me. No, one of the reasons why I went back into Starfield was actually just to sort of refresh my memory with where I was, because I've not touched that game since I want to say October time, maybe, probably after that, because I did give it a really good run through, but obviously there's so many other games to play. So going back into Starfield, sort of finding my feet as to where I was at, and what I was doing because I had some things planned for my playthrough. Essentially working up to building a C-class ship, and I'm still sort of finishing off the skill path that you need to complete to get that done. So I've got to kill like 10 more ships, I think, before I can actually unlock
Oh,
that perk and
Deadly.
just sort of go on.
Deadly. On that note, did you do the little exploit where you go into the training?
Does that
Like
work?
go into yes.
No
does.
fucking way.
Well,
Son of a
unless they
bitch.
patch it out, that's definitely like one of the ways to get your piloting up instead of going around searching for it.
I think I remember trying it and it not working.
Oh yeah?
I think I remember trying it. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, sorry. I
Oh
got
well,
excited.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
know. I don't know. I might be wrong on that as well. But yeah, I honestly, it's just been nice to be there again. I am desperate for the 60 FPS patch, and I'm really looking forward to that coming in. Like going back in, enjoying the gameplay and enjoying the combat mechanics, all that sort of stuff. Just it at 30 doesn't feel good, and I'm really looking forward to a version of Starfield that's going to feel better. One thing I am concerned about is that they've basically just straight up said, because we actually didn't really get into Starfield that much last week because we went massively over time.
Yeah.
Bethesda had said that if you're playing at 60 hertz, if you're not playing with VRR, you can expect screen tearing.
Yeah, I
I'm a
hate
little
screen
bit
tearing.
concerned about what the severity of that might be because I don't have a VRR display. It'll be interesting. I know that as far as I'm aware, they're offering a quality mode and a performance mode. Both will target 60 if you tell it to target 60, but one will do a significantly better job than the other. That's what I understand. All will become clear middle of next week. Actually, it's not even that far away now. But yeah, that's
Yeah, you're
where I'm
right.
at
So
with
what we've
Starfield.
seen of the screenshots for the Starfield patch that's come in, it decouples the settings for quality and performance mode and target frame rate. So you're absolutely right that you can attempt the quality mode and say go as high as you can if you want, but it just won't get very close to 60. Whether it hits VRR rates, they've talked about 40 as a target as well. So lots of options in there for how you want to try and get it to perform, but definitely wants
So
that VRR
annoyingly,
for its highest frame rate mode.
because I don't have a 120 hertz display, I don't think I can take advantage of 40 either, which is something I'd actually really like to try. I believe it or not, I've actually not spent any time, I don't think, on a 120 hertz display. So all of that to look forward to as and when I finally jump into the PC space. But in this economy, I don't know when that's going to be. Asa.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm still holding out on Starfield. I haven't finished it. My playthrough of Starfield was a little bit of a disaster because the first time you get into one of its major cities, being me and the way I play games, guy comes up to greet you and it's like, hey, welcome to this place. And I shot him in the face with a mining laser and then spent a lot of my playthrough just like stuck, unable to go in the city because I was like shoot on sight, unable to fly off in my spaceship because I was just get blown up on sight. So I went and forged a life for myself out in the wilderness.
You have to be sneaky now, right, Asa? You have to be a little
No,
coward,
I've kind of
sneak around.
yeah, I have to be a
he'll
little bit of a
hate that.
coward, but because I'm not
He will fucking
like,
hate that.
well, it's not like part of my like wide array of personal traits that I've got don't include cowardice. So I'm just going to start again after getting exploded a lot. But yeah, I'm going to wait
That's
for
very
Chef's
well
space to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the expansion as well. That's going to be cool.
Gamzly looks his aggressive self with his flipped baseball cap now. Gamzly, what is the hat all about and what else have you been playing?
I fucking hate my hair, Asa. if
that feeling,
you're
yeah.
watching this right now, I'm just a mess. I'm just a goddamn mess. Yeah, please, God, help me. I'm just a bum right now. I'm just work's got me in the face down on my ass. Anyways, I don't know how that works because my ass is not on my face, but you know what I mean. I can't cut my hair. I can't trim my beard. I look like a hobo. I'm playing games though. I feel good. Um, Asa, I have a question.
Mm. Mm.
Have you finished Rebirth yet?
No.
Oh, just a
No.
question. Just random question. Cool. Are you gonna go play Starfield? Like after?
No,
Rebirth,
Shattered
'cause that's what's
Space.
gonna
I'm not
happen?
playing. Well, I guess the timing might end up aligning because it is taking me a little while. But Shattered Space is what I'm looking at for getting back into Starfield. My next game's like I say, I'm getting Sandland pretty soon because I'm potentially gonna video that up.
Oh, nice.
And I haven't done Dragon's Dogma 2 yet. So like my big games that are on the go are still on the go, and I'm trying to avoid getting another one. I really want to get Pillars of Eternity done before Avowed comes out. And I'm beginning to scare myself into thinking, because obviously there's two big Pillars of Eternity games, and I'd like to play them both. Avowed is set in the same
my
world.
God. Oh,
Exactly.
Asa,
And the rate I'm getting through these, I'm getting nervous.
you been
My palms are
playing
sweating.
Pillars or no?
I've not
Have you been
started it.
playing
I'd started
Oh
Pillars
my
a long
God.
time ago. I started it on a PC, not a PC that I've even got anymore. And it crashed within 5 minutes every time I tried to play it. So I was like, leave it for the time being. So I'm probably going to
Okay.
play it on the Xbox. I don't think there's like particularly an advantage to playing that one on the PC. So got it
Well,
downloaded on my console.
Shout out to Pillars of Eternity right now. Both of them, I think both. Yes. Hold on. Well, Pillars 1 right now is available on the Microsoft Store and I believe Xbox, and it's in Xbox Game Pass on both fronts. Is 75% off. It's $12 freaking dollars right now. So if you want to support the devs, go do that, because Pillars of Eternity and Obsidian are in their bag with that game. That game is awesome. I want you to play it so much. Just drop Rebirth. Just drop it. Just drop it.
No,
Play
I'm
Pillars.
going to finish it.
It's coming. It's coming, Ace. Okay. All right, continue what you were going to say.
No, you asked
I
me a
just wanted
question. I
to
don't think I had
shout that
anything
out.
else. Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Did you? Okay.
Carry on. What have you been playing?
A little cat big city
Mm-hmm.
for like 2
You haven't.
seconds. Yeah, I have. I promise you, I have. Go look at. Right before the stream, I was waiting for you guys to pop in the green room, and I was like, what am I gonna play? And I just popped on Little Kitty Big City because I saw that Xbox Era had a review up, and it was actually pretty good. So I was like, okay, let's go check that out. So I've been playing that for about an hour, and
How was it?
adorable. It's adorable. Okay, if you're a cat lover, I'm not even joking right now. Don't at me with any flaming, all right? This game is so catty that it's worth a pickup if you're a cat fan. If you're a cat fan, you're going to laugh almost every step of the way, at least in the intro at least. But go check that out if you're a cat fan. I think they nailed the vibe of that game pretty well. Besides that, I for real have been playing Fallout 1. I completed Fallout 1. I need Fallout 1 and 2 and Tactics Remake. As I completed that game, I just kept thinking, "Oh my god, I need these so badly. I need Xbox to stop shutting down studios and just making some remakes and games that people want to play." And I think this is a target that I heavily want In Exile to make more and more. Like, the more I dive deep into these older games, the more I want them to be redone and given to me on like a more, not necessarily the graphics. I don't care about the graphics. Just give me the control schemes. Like, just give me that seamless movement and where I click, I go, and whatever. Give me a bunch of inputs for that game, and I'll be happy because they're exceptional. It does drag you down in the middle of the game. After you get 99 power armors and 99 power cores and all that stuff. That's a joke. That's a targeted joke.
Mm-hmm.
It really does get hard to, at a certain point, to push through it because it is old. It has old control schemes, and that's the thing that gets in your way. So I've been having fun with that because I'm still on my Fallout craze. But I went back to my comfort food. I went back to League of Legends. Starting like Monday this week. I went back to League of Legends. I went back to Path of Exile. Um, with my brother because he had a big Path of Exile crave because the second one is coming out pretty soon. So if you're a Diablo fan or if you're a fan of these types of games, Path of Exile is incredible. So I've been on that a lot, and that's the extent of my gaming at the moment. I did have one more, but I'm forgetting. But yeah. Also, I downloaded Kona 2 because everybody's been giving me the FOMO on that one. So I downloaded it. I didn't play it. I'll have impressions next week probably. So yeah, that's the extent of that.
I have played, because I have a little go as well. I've played Forza Horizon 5 at the weekend as our community stream, which was, we have Forza Motorsport has been a regular in the rotation because it's nice and easy to get a bunch of people. It's like up to 24 people. You can drop in, you can set up a race, and then you drive around the track. Boom, done. Loads of fun, nice and easy. But Forza Horizon 5 is much more my style of racing game. I prefer it of the two. And I finally convinced everyone to hit that 100 and whatever it is gig download and get Horizon installed as well. And we've been playing that, and it was brilliant fun when it worked. It was a little bit janky at the start, a little bit janky getting everyone into the convoy and getting the races going with some issues with people being kicked out and things like that you'd really kind of hope would be ironed out at this kind of stage in the game's life cycle, but still a little bit dodgy. But when you get into that race, it is so fun and so good looking, that game. So yeah, we'll probably get Forza Horizon 5 included in our little rotation. Our rotation of community games is expanding slightly, at least for the immediate future, because we've been doing them every Sunday. And we're adding Saturdays to the little roster for those games for a while as well. So if you fancy playing a bunch of like large scale drop in, drop out multiplayer games, Saturday and Sunday evenings, we are on those. And it is usually a brilliant time. So something to look forward to, hopefully. Shall we move in to sad face topics?
Not yet.
No, we're not going to do that.
Yet. No. Definitely
What
not.
have you got?
Because I remember the other thing I played, which you're gonna probably hate me for. I forgot I played Hades 2 for like.
Why would I hate you for that?
Like, because it's your favorite game of all time, Asa. That's why. Hades 1.
Hades 2.
That is.
Is it? It's not.
But I know.
I love it, but it's not my favorite game of all time.
You love it.
Yeah.
Now I'm painting that narrative. It's all gone now. Hades 2 is really awesome. I know it's not out yet. Is it in early access on Xbox? Because I have it on Steam. I'm sorry if I don't know.
No, it's only on
not
Steam
out
at the
Xbox,
moment.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been playing it on Steam. I have about 2 hours. I love what they did with this game. I love the difference of like mechanics in this game. It's very subtle, but them adding a constant mana flow and a set of skills and abilities that you could constantly flow with is very interesting to me. Like, but in Hades, you had your like your red, that blood move, like that red attack that you shoot and it hits something, and then you had like your special that you couldn't really spam in an efficient way, and then you had your normal attacks. In this one, you have a mana gauge, and they're all they feel like spells. Like, you really feel the difference between the special, the spell, and these normal attacks. They really did a good job in differentiating the three types of attacks in this one, to me. You will. I'm not... Jump in there and you'll see it flows very nicely. I like what they did with the tarot cards. Like those are the where you could go and spend currency to upgrade your skills permanently for the next run. That little tree they did really well with. I think it's impactful. I think it's fun. The character is voiced exceptionally well. Obviously, you're spoiler alert, Hades' daughter. And I think that's public knowledge.
Yeah,
and they're doing
part of the
really
concept.
well.
You're okay on that one.
Yeah, and you're going to try to kill Kronos, one of the Titans, and that's your objective in the game. and just the environments are gorgeous. It's beautiful. It sounds great. They remix the music so well. Like I get goosebumps. Like I'm playing it and I'm getting goosebumps because I'm remembering the hours I put into Hades. Um, it's just so well done. I hope you jump into that soon, or get FOMO and jump in early access. We know you don't like that. You planning? You really just don't. You want
I'm
to step
really,
away from it? You're not gonna.
unless I need, if there's like a desperate need to make a video, then I'll play it before it comes out. But otherwise, no, I want the complete version. And they have said like the early access version is bigger than the first Hades was, but there's still a lot to come as well. So I want to wait until it's all there. You got to remember, I'm brilliant at games and I play them once and then I'm done. Got to remember that always.
Yeah.
So
How's Rebirth doing? Rebirth.
I'm not struggling with it. It's going fine. I'm not going to play it more than once. That's probably not even true for that one. I might go back to that one day. But
yeah. Well, I will say that this is one of the most polished early access games I've ever touched. And even Hades 1 gave me a little bit of trouble because I was also early access in that game. And I do not remember it being so freaking fluid. I think the success and money that they got back from Hades 1 really shows in this. I think the experience they had with Hades 1 really shows in this. They learned in every sort of way. They budgeted correctly. I mean, the budget seems high here. I mean, everything's just quality, from the sound to the movement to the skill to the thought put into it. I mean, it just looks like it just feels so great. So you might want to jump into that. Anyway, now we could go on to the sad baby news.
all right. We're going to do that. Sad baby news. Baby news? I'm not aware of the baby that Gamzly is referring to, but yeah, obviously one of the main topics that we need to cover today is all of a sudden on Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, was it Monday? I don't know, one of the days this week, Xbox came out with a surprise announcement that they were shutting down 4 studios, 3 of them getting cut completely and 1 of them getting absorbed. Studios were, big one that people are most perturbed by was Tango Gameworks. So that's a studio that was founded by Shinji, the creator of Resident Evil, founded with a really nice kind of ambition as well to kind of mentor and tutor game developers over in Japan with his vast experience and skill set. They made the Evil Within series, they made Ghostwire Tokyo, and they made Hi-Fi Rush. And then they got shut down out of the blue on Tuesday. Second studio was Arkane Austin, who made Prey, not the original Prey, but the one that came afterwards. They made Prey, and they made Redfall, which obviously people were not too enamored with. And they got shut down before they even had the opportunity to release the paid for content for Redfall. People being given refunds for that. And we also lost Alpha Dog, that made Mighty Doom, which is a mobile game, supposedly quite a good mobile game. Can't say I've touched it. And Roundhouse Studio, the ones, they used to be Human Head, which are the team that made the original Prey. They got moved in their entirety, all of their staff moved into a studio within Bethesda called Roundhouse, and they have been absorbed. So those people haven't been let go. They've been moved to work with ZeniMax Online on the Starfield MMORPG, whatever it may be called, like the next MMORPG from ZeniMax Online. So that's the situation. And it is very, very difficult to put any kind of positive spin on it, but we're going to go through the conversation anyway, have a little chat about it. Deadly Headley, what was your immediate gut reaction? And now that you've had like 2 or 3 days to let it simmer and absorb any extra analysis that's gone around, where are you with it? What do you think? What's happening?
Immediate gut reaction for, I guess, half of the news was okay, fair enough, and then the other half was complete confusion. So I look at Arkane Austin and obviously everything that happened with Redfall, and I can kind of go, okay, someone needs to own that. I don't think it should be the studio. I think it should be management that's owning that. And it's disappointing that the resolution has been shut the studio down. But whichever way you cut it, Redfall launched in a state that a lot of people weren't ready to accept. And it was a huge black eye for Microsoft. So I could understand that closure, despite not necessarily being okay with it, and obviously really, really sucks for everybody that's now got to go and look for work elsewhere in an industry that's already under threat. The mobile game shut down, I think so. Alpha Dog Studios, I'm gonna file under confusion, but I don't know how well it did. I have no idea. It wasn't something that I paid any attention to, but I think that clearly mobile games are going to be a very important part of the broader ABK acquisition, King being one of the biggest slices of that pie, and mobile games generally being money printing machines. So if Microsoft wants to sort of re-angle that stuff, I can understand it, but again, don't really know enough about the detail in terms of why this specific studio was shut down. Roundhouse Games, those guys are still keeping their jobs, which is good. Again, it's a shame that the studio's getting shut down, but at least the individuals there who have been affected, they have somewhere to go. Tango Gameworks is just baffling, just straight up baffling, and I think we're gonna come back into Tango Gameworks quite a lot, so I'm gonna leave my immediate thoughts there and ask Gamzly what his are.
Okay. I immediate reaction when I saw Tango specifically, just like the rest of the people, I was shocked. Um, that the other ones I don't really have a connection to. Also, the layoff thing in general, I don't really have much opinions on broadly. I don't usually comment on them. I acknowledge it, but I don't comment because I've been in situations where things needed to be done, and I don't like it. It's part of a corporate culture that sweeps through most of every industry, and it's heartbreaking. But I also know that I am a consumer, and we really do drive a lot of these companies, or a lot of these consumer products, to what the future of these things are. So I know my role here, so that's why I don't comment. So immediate reaction to Tango was shit. Like the one Japanese thing and the one studio that truly does make unique games, right? Like if you look at Ghostwire, you look at Hi-Fi, and then you look at Evil Within, you're like, shit, dude, like all of those are completely different and they're unique. It's kind of baffling. And then as I marinated on it, I also thought, oh well, the IPs are still there. Yes, the talent's gone, the studio's gone, but the IPs are still there, so there's always a hope. And then my skepticism, skeptic side is usually smaller than my optimist side. Like I'm usually an optimist. I really am a positive person, or I try to be as a consumer of these products. So it's way higher. So that took over immediately. And I was like, okay, well, they have the IP. I'm fed pretty well right now. I like my ecosystem. I'm going to play these games. They might pop up again one day. And if not, you know, that's the way the ball dropped. So yeah, that's my immediate and marinated thoughts, very surface level thoughts so far. But yeah, overall, not very happy.
So typically, you can look at what's going on here with Microsoft and the need to kind of cut and trim their costs, bring their operating costs down because they need to, because corporation's going to corporation, right? And that doesn't make it a good thing, and there's no positive spin to that. But you can recognize the inevitability of it and see that's going to happen. In the case of Tango Gameworks in particular, the one that's and this is no disrespect to the other studios, but the one that's kind of had the biggest shockwaves going around the industry because of the success of Hi-Fi Rush, as far as players are concerned, the success of Hi-Fi Rush. When Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, Tango was more or less like a bonus studio. They acquired ZeniMax because they wanted Doom, and they wanted Skyrim, and they wanted Fallout. That was the value. That was where the 7 or 8 billion came into it, was the value of those IPs rather than the people. The Evil Within was not a high value IP, and people, as we know, you can't buy people. They can go whenever they want. So Tango Gameworks was like bonus pot. But to me, as a person, a consumer, as you say, trying to play these games, they were one of the most exciting parts of the acquisition, because Tango do give Microsoft something that they didn't have anywhere else. Even if they evidently didn't particularly value that something, it gave them something that was unique as far as I was concerned, and I was looking forward to everything that they were going to make. But you can recognize, though, that if you are Microsoft and you're cutting costs, the studio that you never particularly went in for with the acquisition are always going to be quite high on the list to be chopped. All right, so with that in mind, they've got ZeniMax, they've obviously had the huge ABK acquisition. Are there any other studios that you think are like really particularly nervous right now because they're in a similar situation to Tango?
Was that for me?
For either of you, because it's a bit of a harsh question.
I'll pick it up. I heavily believe that the pendulum is swinging up. It's like in a very big velocity swing up in the industry, and it's been lingering for past like 5 years, right? That the industry has been changing and slowly really it's been changing into a vicious place. Like, so much volume. How do we compete? Live services are taking over, blah blah blah, microtransactions, you can name it, through the roof. It's been written on the wall forever, and this is where the correction is being made. Corrections on every company is being made right now. Not everyone with a high budget game in production that isn't making any moves right now is all in trouble. So I think that Initiative is in trouble, and I think what's it called, 343 have eyes on them. I really do think those are the two studios that might like have a high potential of getting high level cuts, and I think it's imminent. That's just my read on the room. If I had to guess as well, I think those two, because I mean, Coalition also, because they must be getting to a point in development where people that they bring in just to, help out, they're getting the cut soon. I think Coalition, in that respect, they're going to get cuts, but I think the core team of Coalition is heavily intact, and I think that we're going to see what they've been working on. So yeah, I think Coalition are going to take a hit. Initiative is in trouble, and 343, it remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they take another hit too.
Pete, by the way, thank you very much for gifting another membership. Pete's got a whole load of memberships under his belt that he's gifted over time. Much appreciated. We also had a super chat from Cleo complimenting your hat, Gamzly. Did she gift you that hat by any chance, or is she being sarcastic?
I don't know who that is. That's a random person. Wow, super fan. Thank you, Cleo. No. I bought this hat. But she loves me with a good hat on. So shout out to Cleo. She's a beautiful person, and I love her.
And you too can get that kind of compliment with just a little super chat. That's all it takes for Gamzly's heart.
Just compliment me. Just compliment me.
Compliment his hat.
Pat me on the shoulder. And maybe we make out, maybe we don't. Anyways.
Right.
So studio closures. To answer your question, Asa, and it is a really difficult one. I'm not sure is the honest answer. I hadn't thought about 343 until Gamzly had said it, but actually I think, like, with how pissed off Halo fans have been generally with 343, I don't know where you go from there. If 343 dies, I worry Halo dies. But I'm also in the camp of almost wanting somebody else to take on Halo and try and do something with that IP that hasn't been done, because clearly there is some sort of formula within, whether it's within 343 or it's just expectations for the IP at this point, because they're so high. And Halo is struggling, and I don't know what the answer is to that. I really don't. I've seen a lot of conversation online about, potentially the likes of Obsidian and Ninja Theory being worried, and I really hope that that isn't the case. I really hope that they don't worry, but I think the sad reality of this is that actually probably quite a lot of people are within the industry, as we've talked about, like generally across the board, the games industry is in a really, really difficult place right now. We are going to see more of this, and probably not just from Microsoft, but across the board. Um, and I think an interesting talking point that has come up over the last few days um, is whether or not creative risk is under threat. Because ultimately you're looking at studios taking risks to try new things and then effectively being told that the thing that they tried, which was critically acclaimed and won actual awards, isn't enough of a commercial success. I do understand that there are pre-existing difficulties between Bethesda studios that may also have an impact on what's happened with Tango. So I don't think it's as cut and dry as any one commenter will try and have you believe.
Yeah, and it is like we're obviously sitting on the outside, and everything, all of the insight that we have on it is not true insight. You get bits and pieces, different analysis from different people who have spoken to different people, and there's elements in truth behind a lot of it. But it's very, very difficult to point fingers without being completely disingenuous and disrespectful with it, because we don't ultimately know. But Matt Booty. So Matt Booty has received a lot of criticism because in the wake of Hi-Fi Rush, Tango Gameworks being cancelled, Hi-Fi Rush 2 being ditched, chucked in a bin, and all the rest of it, he sent an internal, I think it was an internal memo across Microsoft that's obviously gone public because they're always going to. And the thing that really upset me about it, I'll be honest, was that he said their studios were spread thin, and he said it's like bread and peanut butter. And I was really, really irritated that he totally misunderstood the metaphor from Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. It's not like bread and peanut butter. All you're saying there is it's a well-established snack that people like. Come on, Matt. You have to mention the too much bread. You're spreading it too thin. It's not just like bread and peanut butter. But besides that, he also said that what they need to do, part of the reason for all of this, for the closures in the first place, the reason they had to get rid of these studios is they needed to refocus their resources and allocate them to blockbuster games, their biggest hits, the things that the audience really wants and all the rest of it. He also said that they really need more smaller games, kind of in the vein of Hi-Fi Rush. He specifically praised Hi-Fi Rush and said we need more smaller games that are going to be critical successes, all the rest of it. And the messaging seems to have confused people both within Xbox and outside of it. What's he talking about, Gamzly?
Man, so when you read it, you're like, what the hell is going on here? Then when you realize that Hi-Fi Rush is basically a 4-year, almost developed like a AA, AAA game, you realize, that's deceiving. It's almost like how we differentiate indie games with indie games from big publishers, where we're like, oh yeah, that's an indie game, but it had an infinite budget and whatever. It's almost like that. It's where Hi-Fi Rush was probably a high-cost game. It was a high-cost game made with excellent precision and big ideas that paid off, but it was also troubled development. You also lost the head honcho that was gluing it all together. ZeniMax, before the purchase, when they bought Tango, they were kind of in trouble, and then they put in what's his name? What was the lead? Shin Megami. Is it Shin Megami?
Shinji Mikami left.
Shinji.
Yeah.
There you go. Shinji was put in there to kind of glue the studio together and really help them out. and whatever. Um, it was already a troubled studio in a lot of ways. So Hi-Fi, I don't think is a good example of like a small game title that he's trying to convey. I think a lot more
So
went
just
into
like
Hi-Fi than we
context
realize.
though, so for what Hi-Fi Rush is, I think you can look at maths and stuff and what we've been given on the outside in terms of figures, in that it made something like $14 million and it probably cost more like 30-40 million. It was, like, by comparison to something like Diablo that has like over 1,000 developers and takes an awful lot of money, Hi-Fi Rush was at its, like, the peak of its development. The last year of its development was 75 people. First year was 2 people. And Microsoft obviously considered it a small enough game to sell for $30 instead of 70. So in
True.
the scheme of things and the scale of games, considering what Hi-Fi Rush is, like, what kind of project do you think that Matt Booty is looking for? Because he's the head of Xbox Studios, the head of Bethesda Studios, the head of ABK Studios, and he pulls the strings and controls these things. So what kind of project does he greenlight from now on?
Think, okay, well, first off, so like I was saying, that it was a Japanese studio in a place that, like, the studio itself, without, like, even with a juggernaut figure in its studio, was still in trouble. It was still a troubled development cycle. Even with the head guy there and all the money, or, the team being larger and larger and whatever, it was starting to spiral out of control for the budget that they had, right? And it's also halfway across the world, and remote work, we know, is hard to investigate. I think that's what he meant by peanut butter and spread too thin and whatever. Is I don't think that I think it's really hard without a person with the accolade, like with the experience and the, like, person losing your studio head of that quality is hard to replace and keep everything gelled together and push out a project, especially halfway across the world, right? And remotely.
Mhm.
So to him, I think it was very much optics. It was very much, well, we want to shrink and be able to be nimble and, be everywhere and see these projects and whatever. And Tango was just out of reach. I think Tango it was just out of reach, and it's a bad time. And he was like, I gotta make the cut. And he made the cut. And we always blame them for not being cutthroat enough. And then when they're actually cutthroat, we, like, get shocked. It's like, oh no. But it's like, dude, it had to be done. I mean, to whatever strategy they have going forward, everybody is supposed to be on the same page. And if you lose a massive figurehead from a studio halfway across the world, and you can't really quality control specifically enough, and you can't give them a high budget for their aspiration, which was to make bigger games or sequels to games, and, whatever the ambition was there, which I think was actually remote. Like, it was actually, it was in what he said as well. They had other projects they were thinking, but they were looking to hire as well. So you're getting a studio bigger and bigger that you can't really control, and you don't have the talent and the head of the studio there to really gel everything together. So I don't know. It's a really tough question. Am I making sense, or am I rambling? To me, it
That's
makes
a tough
little
question,
bit of
Gamzly.
sense.
Let me
Yeah.
give you an impossible question just to make things even harder.
Yes.
In the situation where Microsoft had never stepped in and bought ZeniMax,
Yes.
where would Tango be today?
They'd be okay. If a lot of ifs. I like ifs.
Impossible question. Yeah.
Here's my read. So remember how I said on the top of the episode, I said that the economic structure of everything has been dying for a very long time. Okay? And studios, it's not just Magic that's studios. It's not Game Pass that's shuttering studios across the industry. It's not Microsoft buying Activision that's shuttering all the competition across all these studios. It's not that. It's an economic threat and consumer behavior that is rapidly inconsistent and always targeted towards a specific market, which is mobile right now, right? Companies have been struggling, like, forever, right? For about 6-10 years, they've been struggling already. So it was a matter of time before it toppled. And I think ZeniMax was toppling, and you could see it in the list of games they greenlit. Like they had Bethesda making freaking Skyrim mobile games, right? That did nothing for them to try to get the constant flow of money to solve the cash flow for Starfield, etc., etc. Doom, stuff like that. And then you had other games making like Doom mobile game and all these like the castle building game that did nothing, right? You see it. You see it in their pipeline. It wasn't Xbox that greenlit this. This was ZeniMax greenlighting these projects because it was desperate. They saw the future. They're like, everybody's in mobile. It's hard to compete. I linked an article from GameIndustry.biz of like Devolver Digital saying the exact same thing. People are going to mobile. It's hard to get eyes on your content. It's hard to do all this stuff, and now subscription services are here. It's not subscription service and ABK that killed it, you know? So they've seen it coming. So I think that was a long turnaround to say that this was coming, and the pendulum swing is in mid-swing, and this is a correction. Now, I hate to use that word, but it's a word. It's a term thrown around in business. It's a correction for the future of where the games need to be and where companies need to be sustainable and grab new users across the industry.
I think
ZeniMax would have cut something regardless. It would have killed something to live. So
I think the problem with that is it sort of feels like Microsoft isn't paying attention to the creative offering, and that side of the whole conversation. It just seems to be, let's base everything on the bottom line. And then when you look at, again, Hi-Fi Rush specifically, and we don't know who's left at Tango Gameworks that was responsible for Hi-Fi Rush. That could have been Shinji's team that left with him. We don't know that, and it's really, really difficult to make all of these kind of assumptions and assessments without actually knowing like the inner workings of those sort of interpersonal relationships. But I think one thing that actually really bugged me and came to mind when this news broke, specifically about Tango Gameworks and talking about Hi-Fi Rush as an IP, and something that Microsoft is sort of trying to experiment with to go, okay, how else can we make this game? How else can we get this game to make us some money? First of all, I think with hindsight, it was probably a mistake for them to just shadow drop it straight into Game Pass because not enough noise was made about it. There's actually a little social experiment that I did earlier today, which we're going to touch on a topic later, so I am going to circle back to that. But I think although Hi-Fi Rush was very well received critically, it didn't move mountains in terms of player count versus overall Game Pass subscribers. It had a lot of players, but in the big pool of Game Pass subscribers, if it had more, maybe Microsoft would have seen more value in it. I don't know. You then obviously see, as part of the business update thing that happened earlier this year, Microsoft have said, okay, we're going to start putting Hi-Fi Rush on other platforms, and we're going to start with PS5. No surprises no prizes to anybody if it ends up coming to the next Switch. And that was actually something that I was quite looking forward to because I thought it would give Hi-Fi Rush the second lease of life that it didn't get on Xbox. And it may get on PlayStation. I don't know how well it's doing on PlayStation. But I wanted to see Hi-Fi Rush launch as a one of many launch titles with the Super Nintendo Switch, or however that is named. I really hope that's the name it needs to be. Anyway, because I think it would have done really, really well there. We still don't know whether or not that's going to happen. There might still be a Switch port in the works, but it generally just feels like a really messy decision for Tango Gameworks specifically. Obviously, like I've said, there are things that we definitely don't know because a lot of this stuff is happening behind closed doors. But yeah,
You're right, and for me, like, you can look at the numbers behind Hi-Fi Rush, and you mentioned the shadow drop there, which is, at the time, they were lauded for that being such a successful strategy for Hi-Fi Rush, and everyone was like celebrating the effective shadow drop that got it more attention than they might have done otherwise with other kinds of marketing. Whether that's true or not, one of those things we'll never know. Like the silly question I asked Gamzly earlier about what would happen if Microsoft hadn't acquired them. But the thing that is hard to reconcile for me is with Hi-Fi Rush, regardless of the commercial outcome for that game, whether it made back its money, whether it didn't, you did have a group of people that proved their talent and worth. Right? They proved that they are very accomplished as developers and they can make a game that looks great, runs well, all these kind of things that you'd think would be highly valued within the industry, right?
And won awards. It won actual awards.
It won actual awards, and so you've got your Microsoft, you've got Game Pass, you want to fluff the service up as much as you can, you want to bring people onto your platform and all the rest of it. Building a studio from scratch, they know is difficult. They tried it with the Initiative, and we've seen nothing from them after many, many years. You have a functioning development studio. No matter if you feel like you need to cut costs and you've got too many, surely it is their job as a platform holder and publisher to like see that and turn it into actual value for their company ahead of getting rid of them.
So was it functioning though?
Well, they've proven that they can deliver a game in like 4 years for a game of that caliber.
That's with a very accomplished director at the helm, physically there.
That's true. I'm not, like I say, we're on the outside, and there are things that could be happening, but
yeah, and like I said on the top, right? He was brought in Tango, so he fostered talent there, of course, but he wasn't. They had trouble with every game release, and like it's a known thing, right? That they really did have trouble.
The Evil Within definitely had a rocky launch.
Yeah, all of them did. Hi-Fi Rush had a few troubles and a few bumps. So imagine now the guy that was keeping it together, right, physically left. So now you have nothing there. Is it functional? And they wanted to grow. So they not only did they have the dude that made it functional leave, but they wanted it to grow even more. And it's just like, how, I don't know what to do. So that's my thing here. And I'm not a corporate guy. Like I said, I usually don't comment on these things because I think it's it's so hard to do it. And it's not black and white. But like, I understand the thing. And if you're Microsoft, you don't want an initiative, right? So you're like, okay, so this studio is, right? They did deliver, but that was a time ago, right? And it was all greenlit by not us. And it was greenlit by a ZeniMax that, was in a little bit of a pinch, and they were really forcing their money with them, and they were still not making costs back. So it's just like, I don't know. If I'm Matt Booty, I'm like, I don't want Initiative number 2, even if you have great IPs. I don't want number 2 to happen. So that's my thing.
Sorry.
And also by the way, I'm not. Please don't I'm not a corporate dude. I hate those people. Matt Booty has his troubles. I really do think he's a little bit off. Along with some of the leadership there, to just blindly see the ship getting slowly destroyed and projects not coming out on time since the conception of the Xbox One. Like these guys are the continuous factor. These guys are always at the helm and always the reason why things aren't being handled well and properly, and then the people around them suffer. I'm not defending him, so don't people in chat and people that might be listening, I'm not defending him. He could go, I hope he gets better at his job, but also I get the decision in some sort of business way. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like Matt Booty in particular is a funny one because I mentioned him earlier, and from the outside, the perception is that he's like flailing and failing upwards consistently because he keeps on getting more and more responsibility, and from the outside we can't really see the fruits of that. But it is not a fair assessment because we are very much outside and we don't know his day-to-day, and we don't really know what he has achieved within the company. Somebody above him obviously thinks he's doing very well, so don't take what I say about him literally there. Maybe he's brilliant at it. It's very hard to see evidence of that from the outside. But typically though, Microsoft and Xbox, go on, Headley.
I was just going to say this really is, and to be fair, Matt Booty's a little bit an exception here because he's not as public facing as some of the others, but I think it might be time for the parasocial relationships to get pared right back, because it doesn't seem to be doing the community any favors. It doesn't seem to be doing the brand any favors. It's really, really important that the Xbox leadership gets held to account, but we don't fully understand, again, because we don't really know.
Can I push back a little bit? Can I push back a little bit there?
All I was gonna add on the end was that we don't know what strings Microsoft are pulling versus what Xbox leadership is, and that's the problem. That's the rub. Because I like the parasocial relationships. I like the visibility of the Xbox leadership team. I actually think that most of the time, unless Xbox as a brand steps on a rake again, I do actually think that Xbox's leadership team being present inspires confidence in its own community, and I think that's really, really important, because we've talked multiple times about the importance of things like word of mouth marketing. And again, I'm going to come back to that in a whole other thing too, because we're going to talk about marketing in a separate topic today. But when you see Matt Booty's words come up on that screen and in the same breath go, hang about, you've literally just described Hi-Fi Rush, what are you doing? We've seen Aaron Greenberg's words used against him today, or this week, by questioning, I've got the tweet here, give me a second. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit. Come on, Twitter, you've got to load quicker than that,
it's like every metric, wasn't it? Breakout hit, every metric of theirs and of the players. Yeah,
that's it. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Gameworks delivered with this surprise release. There's some pretty strong stuff from the marketing VP at Xbox.
Yeah,
and go on.
I agree. You really touched up on the things I was gonna say. The Phil Spencer has been ghostly quiet, and I actually don't like when Phil Spencer is quiet, because all these guys stepping on rakes actually keeps us in the loop, and is the only reason why we're able to actually see what's going on behind closed doors and really push back and really deal some damage. Like that's literally why we're able to push back, because we hear them and we see the lie, right? So please keep fucking talking, because it's going to put pressure on these guys and the higher ups. Maybe that's why they do it in the first place. Maybe Xbox
You know why
does
we've
that
not
because
heard
they know.
anything?
Yeah.
You know why we've not heard anything from it, don't you? Because someone nuked his camp in Fallout 76.
Yeah, exactly. But
he's got to
really
rebuild
do
that
want,
shit.
Yeah, I really want them to talk, because the more they talk, the more we see. I like that. I don't fucking like Phil Spencer shutting up. I don't care if the brand dies. You tell me, and we're gonna hold you accountable. And that's like the best thing that could happen for us. I don't care. Keep talking, because and PlayStation right now, you're right. PlayStation right now probably facing the same fucking dilemmas in the background, but they're not fucking speaking, and it gives them a perception of perfectness, but it's bullshit. And they don't, their audience doesn't get to push back, and they don't want to push back because they think it's all fine and dandy. But look what's happening, man. It's happening everywhere. There's layoffs everywhere. People are getting shut down. Please talk so I could, kick you in the fucking teeth, But anyway.
So one thing that I just want to bring up real quick, because it was actually an answer that I was going to give to a question that Asa asked earlier, in terms of what games do you think Matt Booty is talking about? And you bringing up PlayStation, and actually, if we we're going to pivot to PlayStation's strategy ever so slightly. What we have seen from the Insomniac leaks last year, and that really sort of shone a spotlight on some of the budget challenges that PlayStation's having right now. One thing that we sort of saw hints at was larger games being broken up into smaller chunks, and essentially those being sort of standalone or almost kind of piecemeal games. And I wonder if that actually might be something that Xbox is considering in terms of going, okay, how can we get bigger tentpole names out a little bit quicker? How do you use the Halo IP to leverage more movement? So, like, you think about how well Halo ODST did, and it didn't come out that far behind Halo 3. It still felt relevant. It still felt current. So, okay, how do you use that to your advantage? How do you use the coalition more dynamically to go, okay, Hivebusters did all right for us. I think I want to say, obviously I don't know this for certain because I don't have any numbers in front of me, but it probably did some sort of positive impact for Game Pass back when that came out, because it was offered to Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. I think. No, I already was a member at that point, but I remember being quite happy about the fact that I was an Ultimate subscriber so that I could play that. As it happens, Game Pass has offered me too much choice, and I've yet to play that because I need to finish Gears of War 5, but that's more my problem rather than a symptom of Game Pass, I think. I know there's also, I'm sort of diverting a little bit. This is probably going to come up in community questions, so I will save the is Game Pass sustainable stuff.
Yeah, we'll do that in a little bit. Let me jump on this is semi-related, but an easier question. I'll go to you, Gamzly. I asked you like a question you couldn't possibly actually answer earlier. This time I'm going to give you an easy one, right? A lot of people around the Xbox community have been very down this week, and rightly so. It's been sad news. A lot of people have been very down around the multi-platform strategy, which is more debatable whether that's a reasonable thing to be sad about. But typically, there's a lot of chatter and a mood going around that Xbox are completely inept and nobody should love them anymore. Do you think that Xbox are completely inept and nobody should love them anymore, or do they still have, like, is it an exciting platform going forwards?
Oh my goodness. Is it an exciting platform? The more open your platform is, all right, the more interesting and the more freedom you get with it. It's Android versus Apple. Android versus Apple is a perfect example. You know, when Apple was truly closed and Android was super open, that's what gave them an edge on the competition. It was, I could change my wallpaper freely. I could get a ringtone, this ringtone, you can. You know, it was a hacker's paradise. It was open, right? A little bit more open than it is now. Now it's a little bit wonky, but the point I'm making is
ringtones for Xbox.
That I can play.
Point take. No, sorry. Go on, carry on.
The fact that I could play Hellblade on my PC or on my Rogue Ally or on a handheld is the exact reason why I consistently play Game Pass or my Xbox titles. I think it's an insanely enticing ecosystem to be in. When the people right now that are looking for logos on game. The people that are looking for logos on a game title right now are people with egos and have like egos of a fake war they've already lost. All right. And they're parading around. I'm not talking about our audience. There's a very specific audience, the same 2 million people that go to IGN and Twitter and they flow with toxicity they're basically saying the same thing, but the same people get caught up in it because they remotely look a little bit alike. They look like they're on the same team. You're not on the same team. If you like Xbox games, it's a good time to be an Xbox fan. You're still getting an insane amount of titles. They've doubled their publisher lineup. They're giving you, even if it's drip feeding at this very moment, they're gonna flow out with games that are culturally relevant, that you play with your friends wherever the hell you want. So if you don't have money for $2,000 PCs, you can get a Series S. And you could play with your friend that's playing on his PlayStation that's a $599 console. And who did that for you? Xbox. Not PlayStation. Xbox. So it's a good time to be a gamer in general, and it's a great time to be interested in Xbox. Whether you're a PlayStation fan or fucking whoever, it's a good time to be excited because the games that I'm seeing coming up into the June showcase, I'm telling you right now, I am jazzed. I loved every game they showed last year and the year before that. I'm jazzed for these games. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. That's why I've always been here. And I get to have a PlayStation as well. But I need that PlayStation because that's the only way they give it to me. But I much rather a PC. I much rather have it on a PC. Xbox does that for you. And that's why I'm here. And the people that are looking at the showcase, looking at all these games coming and wishing not to see a logo, well, I promise you that right now, you're going to lose that battle because, Xbox is a third party at the moment. And they're going to show maybe no logos on your freaking game titles that you're interested in. It means nothing. You're in the fucking ecosystem. You have choice as a consumer to consume it on a PlayStation, on a Game Pass. You can save money. I don't want that elitist bullshit. You're getting fed content that you want to play it. And I know all the phonies out there, right, are like, I don't need game, I hate game Xbox, and then they go and they play Jasant. And that's not a specific call out. I know that it just popped out in my mind. That's not a specific call out. I promise. Darge, if you're
Jasant's
not
lovely,
specific.
by the way. It's a really nice game.
It's either a Jasant, they're playing Jasant on Game Pass, or they're discovering Death Game or whatever. Game Pass has a value. Xbox has a value. They'll continue to have a value. They're just shifting into a space that we're not used to. So, quick answer, I'm fucking super excited because I get to go in bed with my girlfriend, play on my Rogue Ally, experience some games with her that I haven't experienced before or I wouldn't. And that's why I feel very happy in the ecosystem at this very moment. So stop being, fucking weirdos.
I'm gonna add to that because there's a little bit of sentiment in the chat that sort of indicates that it's not a good time to be an Xbox gamer right now. And last week I literally said this is the happiest I have been as an Xbox gamer, and that still rings true. I, as a user of the Xbox platform, I'm very, very happy with what I'm getting for my money. I constantly have new games to play. I'm really happy with the diversity of choice that is in Game Pass. I'm really happy with some of the exclusives that we've been given on the platform, namely Starfield. I'm very, very happy that I get to play Starfield as part of my ecosystem. And I'm really happy with the overall experience that Game Pass gives me and cloud gaming and the rest. I'm also really excited to see what is coming from their showcase. As a spectator of Xbox as a brand, I'm disappointed. I want better for them. What I think is really important to distinguish here when we talk about the criticism of Game Pass and the skepticism of whether Game Pass is sustainable or not. As a consumer, it shouldn't be my prerogative to worry about Microsoft and whether or not Game Pass is sustainable. That's not my problem. I'm the person paying the money. You give me games now, please. Thank you. This is my time and my enjoyment and my money. This is how I'm choosing to spend it based on the thing that you're giving me. And in exchange, I'm going to enjoy myself for this amount of money. And that should be a pretty easy deal for me to strike with Microsoft. If Microsoft is looking at this and going, this isn't working, they need to fix that. That's on them. That's not on the consumer to go, oh, you should buy your games more. Like, bollocks. It's not up to the consumer to prop up games when Microsoft has said to its consumer, here, you can enjoy them for this amount of money. What they're not saying, but you're reading between the lines as a consumer, or I am anyway, is we'll prop that up because we're $1 trillion fucking company.
And yes. Are you finished with your point? I just had one more thing. Yeah. So, chat. Look, I see some of you. They have been, when I said drip feeding or I have confidence in them. It's because I literally am not disappointed. Me. Like, I play games daily on that. So for you thinking drip feed, I'm not seeing a drip feed. I'm seeing continuous content that I've been playing. I play it every week. I play it every month. I play Xbox more than I have since Xbox 360. That's what I do. I am doing that. Me right now as a consumer. I am playing those things. So it might not be your experience. Kudos to you, honestly. So, I love everyone in this chat, but when I said drip feeding, I'm talking about those people that feel like, first party is the only thing that matters and that comes out, and then you play it for like 2 days and then, oh, where's my other bro? They gave you Starfield. You have like 60 games on Game Pass right now that are exceptional. Like Asa's playing Celeste for the first time. He hasn't played that. I recommended it to him. He's on Game Pass playing Celeste. Maybe he didn't stay on it. Maybe he jumped off ship. Whatever the hell. The point is, games like that exist for multiple people that just get into the system and see these games. Like, a new gamer is going to open Game Pass and see 1 trillion games they can't complete,
And
They're
those
not,
should be enjoyed.
and that's what
They
exactly. And
those
that's
should be
why I
enjoyed.
called
It's the
out.
prerogative of the consumer
Yeah,
to consume.
exactly. And that's why I called out specifically the people that are circling around Twitter. That's the same 2 million-ish people that are so heavily ingrained in this, but are completely blind to the people like my brother who hop in to wherever he hops in, whatever ecosystem he hops in, and he's like, yo, I love this game. There's a swarm of games hitting him in the face. Man, when he picks up Game Pass, he has no idea what to play. He asks me. I recommend him something, he plays it for hours. We're not all the same. We're not in the outside world isn't in an echo chamber like we're so ingrained.
No.
Give me content, give me content. They're not all content creators, guys. Let's
And
relax
I've
and play
got
some games.
I've got some use cases and examples here when we get into that marketing topic. I
Yeah,
don't know
and
if we're quite there yet because we've got a couple of
yeah,
the things that we were going to talk about, but
I want
yeah,
I
one
it's
more thing.
interesting
One
stuff.
more thing. Lethal. Um, why isn't Game Pass growing? Is because economically, it is a crazy time for anyone, and that's why we're seeing layoffs. It is a giant time. So us, when we're in our little penthouse, having a good time with games and arguing about games, people are trying to survive, period. They don't have time. I'm in my 30s, right? That's why Nintendo is king at the moment. They're catering to 5-year-olds and to all the way up to 40-year-olds. They have a large margin of success. Okay, right now, Xbox and PlayStation are targeting people in their 30s at the moment. That's their core audience. They have families and kids. They have money issue. The people that don't have a luxury to play aren't fucking thinking like us. They're just not thinking like us. Period. It's gonna grow once there is a steady flow of content that people really truly reverberate through the industry and outside the industry. Meaning,
That's the hope.
starting with Call of
Anyway,
Duty.
that's
Call of
that's the
Duty,
hope.
yeah. Well,
But if
that's what the
Microsoft keeps on
Netflix.
shooting Xbox in the foot,
That's
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 the
Netflix
problem.
effect.
That's the beef. That's why the
Yes,
community is really
I
upset,
get
and
it.
why we've even got people in the chat who are
No,
upset with us right now for
I
speaking
get
our
it.
truths as
Well,
gamers
no,
and consumers. By the
I'm
way,
not angry at the chat, by the way.
no, I'm
You
not.
can, but Netflix, for instance, had really did go after third party stuff, right? That's what they made their catalog on first. It's a steady drip. They were in debt. Microsoft's not going to do the same thing, but they could if they really wanted to succeed. They were in debt for such a long time, getting big third party things, bomb, 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 bomb. Then people started to notice and pick it up. And then they made House of Cards. And then, things exploded and all this good stuff. Microsoft isn't in that era at the moment, but they're about to be. They're about to
Mm.
be. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here. Relax, just play games. They're in the time, the growth period is not here at the moment. It's steady, it's stagnant, and at a certain point when they see the House of Cards and they see Call of Duty, because House of Cards isn't Starfield. Starfield wasn't House of Cards. Starfield isn't Game of Thrones. We want it to be. Skyrim is Game of Thrones. Skyrim is House of Cards. Call of Duty is House of Cards. Those are the megaton things that people need to constantly see as well as the small content like Booty is saying that are critically acclaimed, little sprinkles here and there to keep the content flowing. But Microsoft is in a prime spot to make that happen if they push through. Don't get so scared about the layoffs and the ship burning. They need to, the pendulum is in a correction mode at the moment, and it will correct. And if not, no Game Pass or no Xbox. But it's so unlikely that it baffles my mind that I'm even talking about it. But anyway, let's continue.
So I'm going to move on to the next topic really soon, but
yeah,
I just want to... The sentiment that I keep seeing, or the question that I keep seeing being asked all over social media and videos and all the rest of it, is can you still trust Microsoft? And that is a ridiculous question. You should never trust any of these corporations. You can understand them, you can try and anticipate what they're doing, but trust, you've got the relationship wrong. If you're trying to trust these corporations, don't trust them. Like, judge them on what they're delivering. Buy it if you want to buy it. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. The second that they stop delivering for you, stop buying it and stop subscribing. Don't be loyal. Don't be trusting. Don't be naive. Be skeptical, if anything. But while the offering is good, take advantage of it. And that's as simple as the relationship with these corporations needs to be, Xbox or any other. In the current moment, yeah, it sucks that Microsoft have got rid of these studios. Is what they're offering me still worth subscribing, paying for, all the rest of it? At the moment, yeah. Trust. So, Stephen, trust from their employees. That's a whole different question. That we're not their employees, so it's not ours to answer. If you're talking about your own job security and like work-life balance and environment, that is a valid question as well. But you don't trust them. Don't be loyal. Pay when the offer is good. Simple as that. There's a little note in the document to talk about stuff Mike Ybarra said about Phil Spencer, and he got a lot of backlash for it. So Mike Ybarra on Twitter wrote a little sub story, be nice to Phil Spencer. He's a person, he's feeling bad right now, and got rightly reprimanded for focusing on the poor rich CEO while people around the place are losing their jobs. We could have a conversation about what's going on with Phil. Where is he? Has he done good or bad by Xbox, and what's his future and all the rest of it? But these are all kind of broad, nebulous, speculative questions I think we'll just skip for today, because Deadly Headley, you specifically wanted to talk to us about Hellblade 2. Aaron Greenberg seems to be in defensive maneuvers at the moment, because a lot of people like to criticize Xbox's marketing team that he obviously heads up. Xbox fans are very critical of the way that they market games, so I think it's quite unusual that he feels the need to literally publicly broadcast all of the ways that they're trying to market Hellblade 2. But they have started with a little whimper. Hellblade 2 marketing is underway right now. Talk to us about it.
Okay, so for Hellblade 2's marketing, I thought, obviously, first of all, we're not really seeing a lot. So point number one is there's not a lot of marketing right now. There definitely should be. Apparently it's on the way / in the pipeline. I saw a little bit on Instagram today, but it's getting kind of close, because Hellblade 2 is out on the 21st of May, which is it's less than 2 weeks from now. So I have some friends that I used to go to university with, that I'm in a WhatsApp group chat with, and I thought I would ask all of them a few questions about Hellblade 2. The first one was, who's heard of Hellblade 2? From a guy called Marky, I don't know anything about Hellblade 2. By the way, just for reference, he knew about fucking Redfall, but doesn't yet know about Hellblade 2. Liam bought an Xbox last week, jumped straight into Game Pass, doesn't know about Hellblade 2, but to be fair, he is making up for lost time in Forza, so I can forgive him there. And then lastly, we have Josh, who replied with the game with the girl with the paint on her face. At which point I've gone, you know what? Josh knows about Hellblade 2. So Josh won that prize. I also want to point out that none of them knew what Hi-Fi Rush was.
Mm-hmm.
None of them knew about Hi-Fi Rush. All three of the guys that I have mentioned are in Game Pass. There are also two other guys that have Xbox consoles. One has a Series X, but he has a kid, doesn't really play. He's actually just had his second one, I think.
Little question just
doesn't
before
play
you
any
carry
FIFA.
on.
Go on.
If they've already got Game Pass, does it matter that they don't know what Hellblade is?
That, honestly, I think is a question that we should be asking generally, because clearly monthly active users are a metric for success with Xbox. They care about that probably not as much as game sales. I don't know what Xbox cares about. I don't know what Microsoft cares about, because we don't work for them. But you have to ask that. Yeah, clearly, I've lost my train of thought a little bit. Let me get that back. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I think it should matter. I think it should matter that they don't know.
Just to clarify, so on that question, because people are saying, like, of course they know. Like, broadly, you can take the fact that they don't know as, like, endemic of a problem, right? It indicates that marketing has been bad, because these people should know about it. But fiscally, these three people are already paying, and them knowing about, like, Hellblade on an individual, like, microscopic level, if you just drill into those people, Microsoft have already got their money.
Yes.
So in that regard is why I asked the question. But carry on.
Yeah. So the other two that own consoles, I'm gonna take them out of the equation, because I don't. It's very unlikely that they're going to jump into Game Pass, let alone be bothered about Hellblade 2 is. What Hellblade 2 is. But it is obviously important to know that there are going to be people who still actively turn on Xbox One consoles and don't do anything but watch a DVD with it. Like, those people do exist. So I think it's an important metric to consider when we think about, monthly active users and things like that. Anyway, my first key takeaway from all of this was that Xbox is advertising Hellblade 2 to its Game Pass users. It's not really able to do that effectively, because people don't like being advertised to on a games console. Like, that's been proven over and over and over again. We don't like it. We don't want that as part of our experience. So you can't just allow us to log into a literal fun machine and then spam us with ads, because we're just going to get pissed off. So really what you're looking for is more of those traditional advertising methods that we're not seeing right now, but we should be. All of the above guys that I've mentioned, they basically see most of their adverts on either regular TV, which I don't really watch these days, but a lot of people watch TV still, and social media. Right now, they're not being algorithmed those, and hopefully that will change as marketing picks up. But the fact that they don't know anything about Hellblade, for me as an Xbox user, I find it a little bit frustrating, because I kind of think that more people should be able to should know about it sooner than this. But then I think that launch period, when someone actually gets to download the product and try it, I think is really where the success of Hellblade is going to be measured first and foremost, other than obviously traditional sales via Steam, Microsoft Store, etc. I find it worrying that none of them knew about Hi-Fi Rush. All three of the guys that I have mentioned would happily check out any game in Game Pass that was recommended to any of them, whether it came from me or whether it came from one of the other guys in the group. All of them are more than happy to just dip into a game that somebody else has recommended. So I think the second part of this conversation was really just Gamzly, you talked about this before, the importance of sort of word of mouth marketing and consumer advocacy, etc., etc. I think it's really, really difficult that I think for the Xbox community, it sort of feels like a lot of in some respects, it sort of feels like Xbox is leaning on content creators, the people who it has formed those parasocial relationships with, to start moving those things along. Kyle, to answer your question about showcases, so Kyle Flanders in chat has asked the question about the guys I've just been talking about, so they aren't mainstream enough to watch a showcase. That's the thing. Honestly, mate, I don't think that quote-unquote mainstream people are even going to tune into those showcases. I am usually the one that tells them when that showcase is, and I'm
Mhm.
usually the one that tells them what they should look out for on it. That's the problem that you've got. There aren't enough users who are effectively tuned in to the thing that Microsoft is offering, and that is the deep endemic issue that Microsoft is suffering with as a result
Mhm.
of marketing poorly for such a long time. Not enough people know what Game Pass is. Not enough people know the thing that it offers. And if Microsoft is both looking at Game Pass as a reason to measure success against in terms of monthly active users, and then at the same time using it as a means to deem whether or not something has been a commercial failure, something is going deeply wrong with those 2 points because they don't line up.
I have a question for you, Deadly Headley, and Gamzly as well. You can both answer. So Hellblade 2, in particular, in terms of marketing and budget and all the rest of it, it's actually sits in quite a difficult place to market, because obviously every penny, every pound, every dollar that you spend on marketing, you're spending with the expectation or the necessity that you're making more than that back. The marketing has to pay for itself and more, or it's not worth doing. Hellblade 2 is a niche game, so it's very targeted to like hardcore, quite in the loop gamers. Despite the issues that it covers means that it could find its own niche elsewhere. But it's a niche game. It's not got any microtransactions. It's coming into Game Pass, so a large part of the audience are already in there. The dollars that you need to spend for Hellblade 2, I've got two questions in fact. The dollars that you need to spend on Hellblade 2 to do this marketing, Aaron Greenberg's come out and listed loads of different places where they're doing it, but they are very much digital platforms. So Reddit, YouTube, search, various social media things. It's like a fair litany of places that they are marketing, but there is no TV, there is no mainstream, there is no like billboards, buses, all of these kind of things that you'd expect for other kind of games. So the first question is going to be whether you think that their particular marketing strategy for Hellblade is like on point, or if they've completely missed what they should be doing. And my second question is, when did you last see like an advert for Game Pass itself? Because that's obviously the other angle of marketing Hellblade, is it does give you an opportunity to market the service that they're trying to sell. When was the last time that you saw a Game Pass advert?
So I'm going to do the Game Pass one first. Off the top of my head, I'm struggling to remember that. If I do see something like that, it usually comes via a YouTube ad or something like that. It's a bit of a tricky one because I do try and pay attention to Game Pass ads as well. But I think specifically with Game Pass, what we don't see is a very clear, simple communication to the average user. And the guys that I'm talking about in my uni chat, because they're all, although they're not a part of this hardcore bubble, and actually one of them did tune in and check out the show last week, so massively appreciated that, Liam. Thank you, because I'm sure he'll jump in again this week. Asa, he also really enjoyed your takes and would like to take you up in a Forza race at some point. But
I'll definitely win. I'm terrible at Forza.
So yeah, I think like all of these guys represent a demographic that is not typically a part of this chat and a part of this conversation and this bubble, because you have to understand and acknowledge how unique this is. And again, I'm going to shout out to Carl Flanders in the chat again for what he asked earlier about these guys not knowing about the showcase. It sucks that they don't know about the showcase. The thing that they are most likely going to clock when looking at the showcase is marketing for Call of Duty. All of them are happy to play Call of Duty. I don't think all of them buy Call of Duty. Call of Duty is the potent linchpin that we should all be looking at. It is so important, and this was the summary point for all of this, because it is the IP that carries more weight than any other franchise that Microsoft has under its belt, and I include Halo in that, which is arguably or definitely Xbox's most important franchise in my opinion. Call of Duty is so important, and I think it's going to be really, really important for Game Pass growth. There has been discussion and reports of Call of Duty being considered for a non-Game Pass release. I don't like the sound of that. I think it's really, really important that Call of Duty goes into Game Pass, because I think that is something that the average consumer that doesn't spend a lot of time in this space will see from a mile off and go, holy shit, that's a fucking good deal.
That's the Game of Thrones, right? That's
Yeah, it
that's
actually
the
is.
House of Cards. Is what I was
Anyone can
talking
die at
about.
any time. Oh no, okay. I thought you meant like Game of Thrones. Like just when you're expecting it, someone's gonna die.
That's
That's
the
not
IP.
what you mean.
That's the
Man.
IP relationships, that grow your platform.
I also Joe would like it to be known that he wants a cricket game. This is someone who isn't a regular Xbox user, but I think his feedback is important. He wants a cricket game because he doesn't think that he doesn't think that there's been a good one since Cricket 07. If anyone has any recommendations, let us know and I'll pass it on.
I think you only get one cricket game a year, and I don't think they're good. So
yeah, sorry, Joe.
Gamzly.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah, take it.
where are you at?
Have you seen Game Pass adverts, and what do you think of the Hellblade 2 campaign that they kind of announced? Are they targeting it correctly?
Well, if they're targeting it correct, the only measure of targeting correctly if the same 2 million people I'm talking about on Twitter and IGN don't see it often, right? Because then that's the point. They're going for the mass audience. So maybe they get advertisements in the, I don't freaking know, Google Play Store. I don't freaking know. Maybe they're in feeds on Instagram. Maybe they're whatever, targeting specific other people that we don't necessarily look at. My brother, for instance, does know that Game Pass exists because he is in the gaming sphere, but he's not always in the immediate action. He's not always there. He's listening to podcasts here and there. He's going to movies. He's going to he takes the bus every day. Those physical things need to be present. Physical stores that are alive right now, they need to be present. Any sort of advertisement that runs on I don't know, Shadow Raid Legends thing. I don't freaking know how you do it, but that's where those things are going to be spotlighted the most, you'd think. And that's not where we are, the guys right here on this table. We're not necessarily playing the mobile games or in the app stores or maybe, I don't know, in a basketball game. I'm not throwing shade at us at all for being nerds. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to broadly throw things at the audience right now to think about. But yeah, I have seen Game Pass ads at my local EB Games. I have seen Game Pass ads at Best Buys, malls, outside malls. I was walking randomly in a strip mall, and I saw this random poster showing me where the Best Buy is, and then you saw Game Pass ad there. Very random. So they're out there. There has to be content that pushes it. It did spike when Starfield came up. Yeah, we like to say that it wasn't a big enough number, 200,000 plus people, not big enough number, but it did spike heavily with Forza and the double whammy of Halo. And I think it truly would have spiked higher if Halo actually did stick, right? So, and they were ready, and they did have content, and it was actually better. It just, you need that stuff. So if Call of Duty drops and Hellblade drops and it's a 9, and all of a sudden the June showcase shows a bunch of stuff coming to Game Pass, hopefully that's what we want as a consumer. The ball starts to roll, and then if Call of Duty indeed does come out, all of a sudden you're looking at the Game Awards and you have a Hellblade on stage, maybe, and then you have the hype of Call of Duty, and then you have maybe a hardware announcement. It's the beginning, guys. We need to relax with the advertisement thing. They need to have something to advertise. I'm sorry, but they're not going to spend so much money on Hi-Fi Rush, They're not going to do that. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
I think
I'm sorry if I
that's the shame
disappointed.
of it, though.
Yes,
That's the
it is.
shame
It
of it
is.
because they should have.
It is the shame of it. Okay? But ZeniMax wasn't really going to do the same thing anyways. They're going to save the budget for Bethesda games like Starfield and Fallout 76, even though that was a nightmare, and Fallout 4 and Doom, but they're not going to highlight, and they weren't going to highlight, probably, Hi-Fi Rush. They weren't going to do it, and I guarantee it. And Ghost of, it was they just weren't going to do it. I'm not going to fall in the camp that the ifs and buts. I don't think they were going to do it with Microsoft or without Microsoft.
I will say, in terms of marketing, Microsoft and Xbox own Activision Blizzard King, and they are absurdly good at marketing, both grand, expensive marketing and more subtle, cheap marketing. You've never had an Activision release of one of their big games that wasn't like massively hyped, even the ones that weren't very good. And they, through the years, like Blizzard in particular, are actually quite vindictive with their marketing when they want to be. If they've got like something in the works and they've got clear competition in the space, they will go out of their way to undermine their competition with the timing of their announcements and releases. And this is like cheap marketing. It's not expensive for them to do that, and they've obviously got a certain amount of weight and heft to throw around, but Microsoft have got weight and heft to throw around. So really they've got a lot of expertise in how to build up hype for a product. And if they don't know how to do it, then they should pretty well talk to their new acquisition and find out their timing and strategies. Like just like you'd want them to do with game engines, you've got all these technologies, you want them to share the best bits and the best practices around their studios. Like your marketing studio should be doing the same. Figure out strategically what works, what's data driven, what all of these other strategies are these other companies have got, and make the best of them. But for me, I follow gaming really closely, and I don't give a shit about the marketing because I know everything that's coming out and what I want anyway. So I'm all right on that one. There's been some people asking in chat.
Ask me. I was just going to say, you did ask me about there was a question that I missed around Hellblade's marketing strategy, or whether or not they've gone for the right move. I think so. Honestly, the proof is going to be in the pudding, and I want to see some of it. I really want to see what they do in cinema, like to the point where I'm kind of like, I haven't been to the movies in a really long time. I haven't seen Dune 2 in the cinema, so if that's still there, I might try and go. Probably I'm not going to get served a Hellblade 2 ad, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But, just as an example, and again, thinking with the old advertising noggin, some of the stuff that you could do with spatial sound in a cinema and how you communicate that to a user. How do you show, you go to a cinema and you expect a cinematic experience. Hellblade 2 is built for something like that. So I really want to know what is being cooked, like purely from, again, like for those who haven't been here before, I am fully a marketing nerd. I literally work in that profession, IRL, and I love it. I
For
pay attention
Microsoft,
to
it's all his fault.
It's not for Microsoft, thankfully. But I like adverts. When adverts are done really, really well, I like them a lot, and I'd really like to know what Hellblade is doing to advertise itself to its users, and people who aren't in that ecosystem. Because again, I think part of the problem that we've got with the question that you asked, Asa, about whether or not Hellblade's marketing strategy feels right for it, I think it absolutely feels right for the format 100%. And I also clocked that there wasn't a lot of static stuff on there, and again, makes sense considering how cinematic the game is. The challenge that I consistently feel with Xbox as a brand, and I don't know how they solve it, it's a really difficult one to solve, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have spent so much fucking money on talking to marketing experts to try and figure out how to make This Is Netflix for Games a distillable, communicable message that just makes sense to a prospective user or a prospective customer. And go, you see that Hellblade game, you see that Starfield game, you see that Sea of Thieves game, you see Indiana Jones, etc., etc., etc. I feel good about this showcase. I feel very, very good about the showcase that is coming, because I think there are so many good games coming out right now. Like we've got Avowed.
Yeah.
Brian,
so many good things.
Sorry, I have to. Brian is shouting out the Mad World advert for Gears of War. Just unbelievable piece of art. That was spectacular. Sorry,
Do you know what
carry
I
on.
noticed in Aaron Greenberg's marketing tweet? Because I'm the biggest nerd of all, and he put out this marketing tweet. Obviously, I noticed that they're all digital platforms and all the rest of it. But the thing that I took away from it was he mentioned search in there. One of the things that they've paid money for is search. And I'm like, oh, are you trying to avoid saying Bing or are you trying to avoid saying Google? Search. One of these things is like a dirty word that he doesn't want to say out loud, and it could be either. Could be either. We've got some people in chat that have been asking about Call of Duty. So there's been speculation over the last couple of days about whether Call of Duty will go day one in Game Pass. All this talked up because of the amount of money spent on ABK and the amount of heat coming from above Xbox to make good on that money. There's some pressure not to put Call of Duty on Game Pass and not to lose revenue in that way. What hasn't been listed is when these discussions took place. Because we all know that very publicly about 2 months ago when all the multi-platform stuff started to happen and Microsoft did their podcast format announcement of what their business strategy is, they said very clearly more than once that every Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, King and ZeniMax game is going day and date in Game Pass. So the question is, why are we seeing speculation like now that Call of Duty might not? And is that possible? Like, might they be walking back on what they promised us a mere month ago? What do you reckon, Deadly Headley?
It doesn't feel great, and I was skeptical of the ABK games going into Game Pass statement when it was sort of circled around in the business update, because again, I don't think it was as black and white as that. And it's a really tough line. I know we've talked before about how effectively executives always have to walk a really tight line when they're being spoken to, because every single word that they say will be twisted and used in a context to fit a journalistic narrative. Like, journalism in general is a fucking minefield right now, because it is really, really difficult to get something as accurate as possible when there is so much misinformation, so much clickbait just in our algorithms generally. I don't think I still think it's going to show up. There is now a part of me, unfortunately, that wouldn't be surprised if they don't, and I don't know how they're gonna. The brutal reality is they probably don't give as much of a shit about the community backlash as we might want them to. And that's really sad, but that actually is just the reality of Daddy Microsoft. And again, definitely a symptom of parasocial relationships and quote unquote trust built with executives in mind. I do still think it's going to show up because, again, I think Call of Duty is the most valuable IP that you've got in terms of moving Game Pass numbers. Someone in chat, I want to say probably Carl Flanders again. You keep catching my eye tonight, man. Oh yeah. Said earlier in chat about COD being the Trojan horse, and he's right. You put COD in Game Pass and you go, hey, Call of Duty player, I know you don't play anything else because you literally just play this one relatively shit shooter. How about you start playing some other games and you get Call of Duty for quote unquote free for $15 a month, maybe a little bit more if they put the prices up. That's how you get someone in Game Pass, because you open them up to this treasure trove of games that they didn't have to pay for and didn't try, and they actually get to explore their hobby beyond the mindless rat race that is the Call of Duty multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Gamzly. What do you reckon?
First off, so I see a lot going around again. I'm going to repeat myself. The 2 million people, the same people on Twitter and IGN, circle jerks.
It's not actually as many as 2 million, is it? Like it's 1,000 really loud people, surely.
Exaggerating. I'm exaggerating here. That's the point.
I hope so.
Because it's still a small number. Look, I keep seeing over and over again. What was it called? Oh my god, is this gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? Blah blah blah. Game Pass is killing this, doing this, blah 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 blah. Guys, The point is, the market goes where the market goes because we do it. All right? So if you're sitting here and you're complaining about stuff not going into Game Pass, then stop having your Game Pass and you're not using Game Pass and you're not buying these games or whatever, or you're buying them. Stop buying them and also cancel your Game Pass sub. You know, we can't be in a world where we're trying to push companies to a direction. Some of us don't. It's a majority vote. So if 70% of us are pushing the thing, right? That's where it's gonna go. Okay? That's all. It's how consumer products happen. If 70% of us are pushing Game Pass or pushing buying games, that's where the market's gonna go. Right now, Microsoft, like, we can't say we want COD in Game Pass, but we also don't want studios to shut down. You know, we can't have the same thing. To make COD get into Game Pass, and we want that, that's what's going to happen. Inevitability of the pendulum swing and correction is going to be, well, what do we do to give the players the thing they want, right? All the content that they want. What can we do there? And they're going to go with Game Pass. The balance there is that it gets much worse in every direction before it gets better in balances. So if the market starts to speak that, well, Game Pass isn't moving fast enough, COD is in there, and still not moving fast enough, then they're going to go back on their word and put COD as a viable experience everywhere and not in Game Pass. And they're going to have a balance of third-party Game Pass studios, you know, day and date, but everything else kind of not. And they're going to go back and forth. They're going to be more multi-platform. So we speak, guys. We do the thing. I'm going to guess right now that Call of Duty, the first freaking one, is not going to go in because they need to get that money back, because money speaks. They need to get that money back. Then they're going to do an analysis, see how healthy they are, and they're going to give us a bullshit excuse, or maybe an excuse that already exists, which is what contracts are going on behind the you know, in the court case, what things happened with Sony. They're going to stick with it. So whatever the reason is, they're going to go with it. Have this outside Game Pass, see the data, get the money back, see the good year that they have ahead, see if Hellblade moves, see if all these games drop and they move and they're critically successful and they bring in money. And then the next year, maybe they say, this is the year that we want the data on Game Pass having Call of Duty. And they're going to put that there for you. And then we're going to speak, and everybody's going to speak and push the market where it's supposed to go and balance. Until then, we have no freaking idea, and I don't really know why we need to continuously go on loop in this. Microsoft is a corporate business, just like PlayStation. They're going to test the waters in every which way. They speak so that we could hold them accountable when they lie or they pivot. Express your anger or express yourself with your decisions to buy or support Game Pass. Use the product if you have it, and cancel it if you don't use it. And the balance will balance. The scale will balance. The pendulum will balance. And we'll see what happens after that. But I just don't like that we see we're about to get into a good flow and we're already jumping out the window. Let's just consume a little bit and put our money where our mouth is, and let's consume and see what happens. But right now we have no idea what's happening, and I'm kind of sick of it. But anyway, go ahead, Asa.
We are less than 2% the people with Game Pass. Just like you said, 70% of the people. That's enough to sway Microsoft's decision.
No, but that's exactly what I said. No, but that's what I mean. That's what I mean. If Game Pass is not meant to be the thing and it's not catching on, they're gonna do things like They're
Mhm.
going to do things and say, well, it's not working, so
I'm just
let's do the
being
half
pedantic
measure.
with the 2%.
Yeah, well, let's do the half measure of having Call of Duty not in Game Pass. That's the pendulum swing. That's us speaking, and that's just
my hope is that these discussions around Call of Duty not going into Game Pass, it's absolutely like 100% inevitable that they would have had these discussions at some point, because of course it would be ridiculous negligence to not think about what you're going to do with the IP. My hope is that these conversations happened before they came out in front of us all and told us that we're getting it, because like, you're absolutely right, Deadly Headley. They are, I've been saying for ages, don't trust them. Don't trust them. That's naive and stupid. At the same time, they can't directly lie to our faces in that way, right? They shouldn't directly lie to our faces in that way. They've been selling Game Pass on the premise of it, and people have got like years-long subscriptions, presumably with some legal footing, on the understanding that they're going to get Call of Duty because we have been told that we're going to get it. So actually, it would be really difficult for them to publicly backtrack, and I think the backlash would be furious. Which doesn't mean that it's not going to happen.
I still push back on the fact that we've been given that impression, but I still don't feel like we have explicitly been given that in black and white. And I think
they didn't mention the name Call of Duty, but they did mention every game.
That's why it's black and white.
Yeah.
And every game is an absolute, like, that is black and white. There's not much talking around it from their point of view, really. So, the other thing, people mention these contracts, right? And they like contracts, PlayStation have got them tied so they can't put it on Game Pass or whatever else. This is all knowledge that they would have had at the point that they made this announcement, so it doesn't excuse it. So, like, I'm not saying it's definitely going into Game Pass. I'm just saying the backlash will be furious if it doesn't, because they have told us that it is. So
right, and that's good. That's good. Like, look, if that's the thing, right, Asa? And I know again, that's why I talked about the Twitter thing, and that we fight the same battles, but then we get caught up with the things that, like, I might be getting caught up with some extreme toxic values, but that's not what I'm pushing out. If they don't have Call of Duty Day 1 in Game Pass, I'm not unsubbing, because that was never my thing. As I said on the top, I'm good. I'm satisfied. So I'm going to keep my sub, and I play it consistently, and I buy games. So
Same.
If COD doesn't drop and it's not in Game Pass Day 1, you guys, all of us that say, right, they lied, show them that, unsub, unsub, and don't buy Call of Duty, and see what happens. All of this stuff is threatened. These corporate structures are threatened with money. And I know the money, put the money where your mouth is in the wallet thing is overused in most podcasts because they're fucking assholes. But sorry, they're jerks. But it's true. The Hellblade situation, Helldivers 2 situation, is very real because it threatened that live service game. It threatened it. People were refunding. Steam threatened that whole thing, right? Steam put the pressure and extended the refund period, and people were speaking and refunding. It wasn't just they were leaving bad reviews. They were really flooding that thing, and they overturned it in 2 days. Money speaks. They lose money. They lose reputation once you speak. But if you're just going to keep your sub open, then it's ridiculous. But until then, until they show no Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass or whatever, let's not jump the gun just yet and see the June 9th showcase. It's fucking right around the corner, guys. And let's stop jumping the ship. Not jumping physically, like, out of the Xbox ecosystem, but let's tame our frustration for something that hasn't at all happened or not happened or
I tell you,
or whatever.
The ultimate most important consequence if Call of Duty doesn't go into Game Pass this year is that I won't play Call of Duty this year, just like I didn't play it last year or the year before, because I don't really care about Call of Duty. If it does go into Game Pass, then maybe I'll touch it.
Are you keeping the Game Pass?
I'm more likely to play Call of Duty if it goes into Game Pass.
Yeah, are you still? I have a question.
Gamzly, I would still be subscribed to Stadia if they didn't cancel my subscription.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm not. You're part of the problem. All right. You fucking. You know what? I'm muting you. No, I'm kidding. Because you don't talk crap. Yeah. Well, you're not out there on the street. We fight for the same thing, but you're not out there doing the thing that a lot of these ingenuous people are doing. But Deadly, a question to you: Are you going to? Is your core the group that have Game Pass? Let's say if Call of
Mhm.
Duty is removed from that lineup, right? Are you or your friends going to unsub to the service?
No, because I have had to be the one to tell them, hey, there's a thing you should look out for. Call of Duty might be coming. It's not 100% yet. One of them who bought an Xbox in the last couple of weeks did say, holy shit, that would be insane. But, you know, again, like until it actually happens, I'm, I don't know. I think it's going to. I really think it's going to. I'm going to be disappointed if it's not, for sure. And I don't usually like seeing the community get really vocal towards individuals, but I think it should be made known by anybody who
Right.
has spent the last how many fucking years we've been talking about ABK?
Mm-hmm.
Coming up to 2 years easily.
Yeah.
Is it 2 years? It's got to be at
Yeah,
least.
but
2 years
see-
in the
but you see-
works. It's
you
been
say
longer.
that you
Yeah,
but you
it's been going a lot longer.
you say
than that.
you say that, Deadly, and I love you for it. You say that, but see, that's where the number is muffled here. So remember when I said that some people are on the same team, but some people really hide in, like, some people just get caught up in it, like that not the sheep mentality. I'm not going to say that, but they kind of get, oh, that guy's saying what I'm saying, so I back that guy, but that guy's a crazy lunatic. You know, like we get conflated with that number, and we seeing Activision Blizzard. So me as a fan, right, of Xbox or Activision Blizzard, I was a fan of like Blizzard and their games and all that stuff, and the idea of Game Pass and coming to Game Pass and etc. etc. I thought that Blizzard would maybe get I had another thing going through my head. I was excited for that. Call of Duty was never my thing, right? And I also thought, oh my God, this might be Xbox's chance to see the future, right? And kind of be able to glide and really solidify themselves in time of change of the pendulum swing of the industry with all these layoffs.
Mhm.
How will Xbox fit and live in this future? And I was happy for the future, right? I was happy that Xbox will be here and my ecosystem will be here, etc., etc. But some of these dudes are yelling from the rooftop, and it's just
It's called out Dodge
it's
again. I
not-
can't believe it.
are shouting from the rooftop of like, oh my God,
That's
Xbox.
good.
But those dudes are logo lookers, right? They're looking for the logo just to get an ego edge on a fake thing that's happening, right? But the games are coming, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like, we're not the same people. Let's not conflate it. We're not the same people. If you were looking at the ABK deal and saying, yes, I can get a logo on my box and fight the other logo, we're not the same. I did not look at that thinking that. I looked at that as a gamer and a consumer, that I like games and consume games wherever I am. And that's why I was happy for it. We're not the
How it
same.
should
So
be.
those people looking for logo boxes, I don't give a crap if they land in Game Pass. I'm going to be honest. And a lot of you don't either. And don't get sucked into the mentality, because you're not.
want
You're
them on
not the
Game
same
Pass.
people. So you want
I've
Call
got
of Duty
Game
on
Pass. Yeah,
That's
I want
fine.
the games.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Of course. But for the
Yeah,
people
but
that
you're
aren't
not gonna-
unsubbing,
You're not
Not
gonna
to
unsubbing.
spite
like.
anybody else. Yeah.
yeah.
You're not gonna
Yeah,
show
you're
You're not gonna wave the little plastic trophy.
Exactly.
Of, look! I got Call
Yeah.
of Duty on my Game Pass thing, like I said
Exactly.
I would. Nah, 'cause it's
Exactly.
fucking lame.
That's
It's-
what I was saying, right? It's not the logo. If it drops, I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, dude, but I'm not gonna go on the streets and start waving my
See, I
my
told
green
you
flag.
Xbox was
Oh,
better.
yeah.
It's
It was
not
better
about
than
that.
the other logo. You see, it's not on the other logo. It's like, no, dude, I don't care about logos. I just want to. Okay, if they lied to me about Call of Duty, damn,
Do
dude.
me and
but
my
I'm not gonna
friends, the
pretend. I'm
consumers,
not gonna
benefit.
pretend. Yeah,
There's-
I'm not gonna
yeah,
pretend I'm canceling. You know, that's
No,
just
so
not what I'm gonna do.
There is
Do
a
me and my
subset of
friends
people.
benefit as consumers? Yes, cool.
There is a
Yes.
subset of people. There's people like us, right? You put it on Game Pass and we'll be happy. There's a subset of people who, if they were, and this isn't going to happen, but if they were to say it's on Game Pass and it's on PlayStation Plus, they would take that as a lose. Whereas any sane person would take that as a massive win. So assuming the game wasn't
Yes.
compromised or whatever else. So I get the kind of people you're talking about. Yeah, I'm happy that I should have access to it. And That's it, right? So simple as it gets for me. Let's do, because we've hit a little bit long. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover before we go on to our questions from the beautiful or not beautiful, I don't really know, community that we've got? I love them all, but they might be hideous.
There's a we got news about more layoffs coming, but I think maybe we wait until that news breaks and then go into it, because there's been a lot of shit to talk about this week. There was some positive news about Fallout 76. It's getting a map expansion, and that's about it. It was a really short update, but there is a 3 and a bit minute long video on YouTube that explains it a little bit more. But yeah, a little bit more content coming to 76.
I don't want to gloss over the future thing. I just want to say one line. I said it on the top again and again and again. This is coming everywhere. So get ready for it. Get ready to get your pitchforks out. Rightfully so. And if you truly care about these people, Arkane Leon, a director, came out and sent out a powerful message. If you want to fight a corporate kind of environment, retweet that message and just say a word. Don't attack. It does nothing. It actually, they ignore you. You repost that dev and you repost that reply and you say a little something, it gets attention, and that's really valuable. So that helps a lot. Don't be a toxic douche, but speak powerfully, like he did. He spoke powerfully. He spoke with purpose, and that's what I really want to push. Not nonsense. My logo, your logo, Xbox dying. No. Push out that guy's message. And
I would also extend that to individuals at Xbox as well, because I think ultimately these things are made at a top corporate level, and yes, individuals ultimately are responsible for some of those decisions, but I cautiously empathize with the Xbox leadership team, because I know that they're after spending $70 billion and having $1 trillion company sign that off, their hands probably aren't completely on the steering wheel right now. And that doesn't mean that I forgive them for closing a studio that made them a pretty good game. Close several. I'm not going to call Redfall a pretty good game. Some might. I'm not going to. I personally don't agree with going after people. There's been a lot of "fuck you, Phil," and I'm just I don't want to hear "fuck you, Phil." I don't want to shout "fuck you, Phil," because ultimately,
well, that does nothing on both sides, right? It does nothing on both sides.
It doesn't help anything.
And also, I wasn't even referencing Phil necessarily, but broadly, if he was calling out very high level executives there, whether it was Phil or not, we don't know. We have no idea. He was very vague, but that is a powerful message, and that's how we should be moving with these things. Back that developer, back those people that have voices, powerful voices, and those studio heads and smaller people in the studio. Back those voices, but don't be a dick. And that's what I caution. And really look out for the future. There will be more across the industry, so get ready for it, and don't be surprised when it drops, because it's coming, and everybody's been saying it for 15 years. Let's that's all I have to say about the future releases, and I don't really quite need to jump back on it. Future
and just for clarity, it's the cuts that were speculated are specific to say that Xbox over the next 12 to 18 months are going to be cutting deeper and looking specifically at Xbox game studios. But like Gamzly says, and like many other industry analysts have said, there's going to be cuts all over the place going on for a while longer yet before, as Gamzly's been saying, the pendulum starts swinging the other way. Let's get our questions going, please. FTW. I'm going to read it very cautiously. I'm actually not. I'm just going to read it straight out loud and hope for the best. FTW has said, what would you say to people that were all for the acquisition of ABK, but now think it might have been a bad move because they are shutting down studios? What would you say to those people? Do you have a message for them, Deadly Headley?
This, unfortunately, is part of big business consolidation. It happens, and it's really, really difficult to avoid. I have been on the receiving end of redundancies when I've been part of a company that's merged with another. It happens, and it's shit, but it is
So just like
unfortunate
on that
the
though,
reality of
because
massive business.
I have as well. I've been through the same, and lots of people have. And in theory, that means there are lots of people out there that did understand it. But there was definitely a large group of people that were very actively cheering on this acquisition. So what, like, and I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong to have done that, right? There's going to be benefits despite this terrible week that we've had. But I don't even know. Who's this group of people? Say something nasty to them. I feel like that's what we're being asked for. Say something really nasty.
Well, I was very pro the acquisition. I thought this would be fucking awesome for
Gamzly,
me. As
what would you
Xbox
say
user
to
and a
Deadly
consumer.
Headley? Say something really nasty to Deadly Headley.
Bring it.
You have very beautiful hair. Wait a sec. God damn it. I don't know. I
So-
don't have anything aggressive to say. What I will say though, is, you know, again, us people cheering for ABK in different ways get sucked into the same toxic crowd that was doing it for the wrong reasons. We're not doing it for the same reasons.
Message
And
for
I
those
have
people.
yeah, those guys, you're crazy. And also I have never reposted anything or posted about ABK being the dynamite and loving the I don't know. I never really participated in that. So I don't care. And fuck all you guys. Anyways, next.
I think that probably like more or less covers it. Yeah. That FTW. So NateStateGames has asked, would you be happy with Xbox going full third party with everything if it could somehow secure Game Pass and prevent studio closures? Yeah.
Was that your answer?
That's it. That was my answer. Yeah. I'd be happy. Sure.
No, because I firmly believe that Xbox needs to have some exclusive content in order to keep growing its service. That's how we've seen similar operations.
But the question has like, it's got a premise in
Would
there.
I
If
be
this
happy
happens,
with it?
If it secures Game Pass and prevents studio closures, so that means that all of your concerns are already resolved. Essentially, right?
In a magical world where everybody's happy and there are no downsides, yeah, that sounds good, but I don't think it's the reality. But in theory, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely. I think that's already in the swing. So I don't see anything really helping. There's going to be a swing back, and depending on the pivot of that swing, there's going to be heads rolling the other way if things don't work. So, yeah, I just want Xbox to be healthy. So wherever that lands, whenever that lands, I just need them to do it. That's it.
I'm 100% with you on that. Like, I just want them to be healthy. Like, I don't care how it looks. I like the ecosystem. I don't care what healthy looks like as long as it is healthy. I think that's a good thing for me as a consumer, me as a gamer, me as someone who enjoys the ecosystem. But obviously, you know, that human cost sucks if health of Xbox involves closure of studios.
So essentially, NateStateGames, I think across the three of us, none of us are upset about games going to other platforms. But with more nuance around it, there could be a detrimental impact, and obviously that would alter the discussion a little bit rather than assuming that it makes everything healthy and rosy for Xbox. Yeah. Next one, please. Isla's asked, long question from Ant C Chat. So Ant's new in our Discord, and this will be a first question. Coming this way, let's have a look. It's going to get pasted. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited and warm. It's really, really freaking warm. The sun's been up for like a day and I hate my room now.
Hey,
Um,
for all you guys, in the chat, hit the like button if you liked our discussion. I know we really try not to be, you know, uh, too doom and gloom, or we
Rage
don't play
baity.
that game. Yeah, rage baity. We try to have level-headed conversations here. So if we're doing something wrong, don't hit the like, but hit the like if we're doing something right. We really appreciate it.
it's not going to be bad news every week, right? Most weeks we're going to get back onto talking about
Yeah,
games and
exactly.
excitement. It's just we had to
Yes.
cover this off, and makes it a slightly miserable episode if we're being honest. But
We literally launched the week before the business update. Like we're
Yeah.
used to it. We've seen more tough times with Xbox than we have good in the time that we have been a show that has existed, and we're on episode 14. Just crazy.
Yeah.
we are right.
Thanks for
The
sticking
long
with
question
us.
from Ant: with the recent studio closures, what do you think we don't know about the justification of the decision? What do you think we don't know is always going to be a difficult question in any context. There's a lot of hyperbole and people are rushing to judgment, which is fair due to the decision being quite shocking. But studios don't just close for no reason. Love to know your thoughts on this. Also, really disgusted by the "I told you so" rhetoric that we've been reading online. Using the loss of jobs for online clout is pretty low, in my opinion. It's disturbing how many people just seem to exist for "I told you so" on social media.
Yes. Can I go for? Can I?
You
Go
sure
ahead,
can.
Actually, I'll let you go.
No, you're on
Okay.
it.
I want to jump in because this is what I've been talking about. Like these people that are going to be watching the June showcase, just looking for any sort of "I gotcha." That's what I meant by logo watching, where they're looking for that logo just to be like, "I gotcha," and to inflate their ego, and they don't really give a shit about these closures, and they don't give a shit about these people. And I hate it that they're even speaking about it. I hate it. I hate it so much. Just enjoy games. And that's why I know who I am, and I don't comment on it usually, because I know I'm a consumer. I know what I consume, and I know what I'm supporting. And if the pendulum doesn't go that way, I get it, and I'll go wherever that industry goes. But I'm a gamer. I consume, and fuck you guys that are just like, I gotcha momenting on Twitter.
I have come to the conclusion that the quote unquote console wars literally only exist on Twitter to allow people to be dicks to each other. And that's it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
boring as
it's
fuck.
whatever.
Anyway.
So, in terms of, and we did talk a little bit about the studios, and obviously there is a lot that we don't know. Always speculation, particularly around Tango, on like the capabilities of the studio at the point that they were closed, where all of this. Well, yeah, we've been over it. Hopefully, we've satisfied that answer, and you won't leave our Discord. Play some games with us. Next question, please. June showcase is going to be 90 minutes of closing studios and doing it. And no, it's not Lethal Migraine. It's going to be full of positivity and everyone will move on. People are like, the emotional people are very fickle. So you'll see an upswing again and then you'll see another downswing shortly afterwards. And that is how the social media will flow. FlushJackson has asked, thoughts on how much Microsoft will lean on marketing through partnerships with Netflix and similar to boost existing flagships. Flush, you mean like doing TV series with Netflix or other kinds of marketing? Do either of you have an interpretation of that question or an answer to it?
Microsoft.
It's a good one. Let's have a look. How much Microsoft will lean on marketing through partnerships with Netflix and similar to boost existing flagships? It's a really, really tricky one because I think, like I said on the show earlier, people don't like being advertised to in places that they don't expect to be advertised. And I'll give you a quick example. I don't know, Asa, I don't know if you experienced this at all. Have you started watching the Fallout TV show yet? You have, haven't you?
No.
Okay, all right, fine. So I started watching that, and obviously I'm using Amazon Prime in the UK. It's happened on my phone. I don't think it's happened on my TV. I get served ads on Amazon Prime. It pisses me off a lot because I really pay for that service, and I knew that this was happening, but I'm also allowed to be pissed off about it, and I'm not going to pay them any more money because that's fucking ridiculous. I'd rather just sit through the ads. Begrudgingly and angrily, quite often I will put my phone down and walk away because, again, I don't agree with the fact that that's been served there. we translate that to, again, Netflix is the example that's been given here, and I think it's a really helpful thing to bring up, because what this question is, and so Shady, you're right for pointing it out, what this question is actually addressing is the fact that Gears of War content is going into Netflix. How does Microsoft go, hey, IP that you're watching on your TV screen or your phone right now, do you want some more of it because you can get it through Game Pass? It's a really, really tough one. And honestly, I think the best way of them doing that, rather than leaning on direct advertising through Netflix, is going to be making sure that the brand presence outside of the Netflix media content is as visible as possible. So it means doing activation stuff in public spaces. It means doing the kind of things that make content viral on Twitter, which again sort of goes back to our activation. We saw a hell of a lot of out-of-home stuff, which is when you see things like bus wraps and billboards and digital banners and all the shit in Times Square and all that sort of stuff. That's a little bit difficult in this day and age, because we don't. Not all jobs exist outside of the home anymore. And 20 years ago, out of home was very, very effective, but it's a little bit more difficult to target everybody with that. But if you look at an urban area like London, for example, very, very different. People are out of their homes all the fucking time. So, it's different strokes for different folks, quite literally. But yeah, I think the best way that you can do that is make the IP visible elsewhere. So that does include out of home ads for the TV show. And then when it comes to social presences and things like offers on not necessarily offers on Game Pass, but how we saw Fallout players across the board rise following the success of Gears of War.
Typically on that, so Shady said that as well, right? Like, if that's the angle, if you're asking about whether we'll see more like IPs taken into the Netflix and TV space in general for the sake of boosting games and extracting value from the IP, we're absolutely going to continue to see more of that from everybody. Like, we know Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox are all doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of it from the likes of EA and Ubisoft as well, because they've got IP that is valuable in that space, and it's like win-win, because it brings attention back to the games and it directly makes money as well. So yes, we'll keep seeing more of it until they start fucking it up and it becomes a risk in and of itself. But for now, it's mostly success stories with that, isn't it? So
yeah, and it's interesting that we haven't seen that happen with Halo, and again, there's probably a number of reasons for that. Maybe next season we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe there'd be less people playing Halo right now if it had been
classic Xbox marketing discussions and never fucking ends.
No, it's so funny. We're talking. I love how informed we're getting in the small sect of people here. Is that now we're finally realizing what advertising on TV actually did, right? As an industry, we're actually going backwards in time, even with Netflix and streaming services and whatever. We're actually going back in time with advertising. Everything is advertised. Everything's pay a subscription to get rid of the ads. Everything's like, and we're looking at it like, yeah, let's go back to maybe showing a trailer after the thing or during the thing. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. That was the point. That was literally what kept these TV stations alive, right? So it's funny. That's what I was talking about. History repeats itself. It will repeat and balance the same way for, games than it did with TV, music, blah, blah, blah. We're not the same consumers. Bro, trust me, we're the same consumers. Just in a different medium, but we're the same. So we'll see. And yes, if it kicks off, if every game or every show is as good as Fallout, then of course it's an efficient way. But again, that's a if, and we will continue. Yes, we will continue to see shows based off games. Yes, whether or not
we're the same consumers.
We don't know. Yeah,
I don't want to massively make this a whole new topic, but you're right that we're the same consumers, and we're literally the same consumers because we watch TV and listen to music and all the rest of it. But there isn't a musical track that people 70% of the audience listens to in perpetuity forever. And that's where video games are different and are a challenge, because there's not a musical Fortnite. Yes. There's not like musical black holes or TV black holes that stop everything else from being consumed. So there are some different challenges, but we are
with the Fortnite thing, it's funny. With the Fortnite thing, it is actually an all-consuming, well, it is a thing that people could turn to. If anything, Fortnite is a bad example because you could literally do that forever in perpetuity with anything you do outside. You could listen to music with it. You could play it while doing something. Like, it's actually a video game you could really play. That's why mobile games are so huge. Like, you're really enveloped in doing that thing and hooks you while you're watching TV or something. Like, anyways, point is, yes, you're right. I agree with you. We are different in how we consume it and what needs to be engaged as we consume it, but we're the same consumers with the same patterns, and that's why history will repeat in most of the things, and that's why they have been going backwards. But it's not going backwards, it's more of a balance. And that's what TV's going through at this very moment, and it takes fucking time because we really do, like, the economic structure right now is showing us the balance of TV, right? Everything's being cut and slashed, and people are losing their jobs in the same ways. It's there, dude. But yeah, anyways, I'm not gonna get into that.
So Shady's got into the Halo show. We've spoken about the Halo show and reasons for its success or not. I can't remember when, probably more than once a few weeks back, but yeah, you're not wrong, So Shady. Carl Flanders has asked, and this one's for you, Deadly Headley, specifically, and you might not be able to answer it off the top of your head. It might be one to take away, but he's asked, did any of your three friends that you were referring to earlier play Elden Ring? And if they did, how did they find out about it?
I don't know that one for certain. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to any of them about Elden Ring. I do know that a couple of them actually quite like Souls-likes based on some of the other games that they have played, and they were both really hot on Lies of P, and very, very keen on that when it came to Game Pass once they had sort of done their little bit of research, or I don't know how they were told about that game or how they found out about that game. Specifically Elden Ring, I'm not sure, I'm afraid, mate.
Yeah, and it is like, Carl, it's a good question in that Elden Ring is obviously an interesting case study in terms of a game that sold massively successfully, so you can look at the way that it was marketed. The issue with that one is obviously a lot of it was word of mouth and viral marketing that marketing companies and Xbox and all the rest of it would love to be able to capture, but it is very difficult to artificially manufacture. And Elden Ring did it off the back of being a brilliant game, which is like, you can't replicate that on something mediocre.
I would love to see the data on that too, Asa, because it's just like, you can argue it's the same circle, right? You can argue that it wasn't new guys coming in from the street, random people. You can argue that. You can argue that it was a lot of gamers playing it, not new people. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, that's all we got for that one. Let's have the next question if there's any more, please. Probably the last one coming up, I think. Episode 13 is asked, with Xbox being in a pretty bad place optics wise after a few positive shows, minimize while I was reading, wait a second, do you think that they can ever win back fans or consumers that they may have lost? You like Xbox a lot, but the flaws are yeah, they can definitely win them back. Episode 13, like, immediately when they do anything good, people are that fickle. I'm not saying they're going to get Tim Dog back, because who fucking knows, like, there's going to be exceptions, but
he's already playing. He's already in the back like this, and he's like, oh yeah, Starfield or something. Like, he's on
his PS2 VR. He's not coming back. He's not coming back. He shut the rest of the world out.
Are you kidding me? He has his like backbone on like Game Pass Cloud or some shit. He's doing something.
But not to bring the Twitter stuff back in, like, people are fickle and they will come back. Like, all they need is a good June showcase, and pretty much everyone.
I think
There'll
this
be
showcase
exceptions, right?
I think this showcase is going to paste over a lot of the bruises and dents that Xbox may have suffered.
Not yet.
Reputation-wise and trust-wise. You reckon? I don't think it's going to fix the problems. It's not going to. This showcase isn't going to magically help everyone forget the fact that Tango Gameworks just got taken outside and shot
Well,
out
that's
back.
not even what I'm talking about, but not in that way. I mean, in the mass consumer way of getting people off different consoles, like last gen
Yeah.
consoles, or maybe getting a double dipper from PlayStation or Nintendo. It's hard. It'll just take some time to associate. Like association with the brand will take some time to be like Call of Duty will have to hit this, will have to
Yeah.
it'll take a good 2 years, man. Lock in, guys, because it's gonna be a rough 2025
That-
as well for Xbox.
That, by the way, guys, is exactly why Gamzly's been a proponent of it's going to take more than one Call of Duty in Game Pass to start turning the ship around, because this thing just moves too damn slow. It's going to take more than that. I think if you go into I think if you go into the June showcase this year and go, Call of Duty's coming to Game Pass, and let's say, like, hypothetically, it definitely does. And again, for the record, still on the fence, but based on what we've been told, it should be. But who the fuck knows anymore, man? Trust is in a really bad spot right now. Generally, for Xbox fans, it just is.
You said the word. You said trust.
Yeah. Sorry, let me finish my point real quick. It's going to take more than one Call of Duty. You can't expect this showcase to make all of the PlayStation players run out and buy their Xboxes, and then you get your trophy. Which, by the way, I did a video on that. It was a lot more nuanced than winning the plastic trophy. But I'll talk about that in a sec. Anyway, sorry, Asa, carry on.
No, I was only going to say, like, it's not the first time that we've had bad news from Xbox by any stretch, is it? And people have come back to them again and again. Like, it's not going to change in that sense. Yeah, they've got rid of these 4 studios. Do you remember what they did with the Xbox One at launch? Do you remember when they got rid of Lionhead? Like, bad things do happen along the way. I think my approach would be skeptical of them, but
really came up and hit someone in the arse this week, didn't it? I can't remember it off the top of my head.
It was Sarah Bond. So the quote that you're talking about is going to be, so Lionhead were acquired in, I think, 2006 and shut down 10 years later in 2016. It was like Lionhead were a beloved studio, very much so. They're the creators of Fable and Black and White and things like that, but and Populous as well, right? So Peter Molyneux's studio, but they closed them down in 2016, and then Sarah Bond said, I think maybe 2 years later, or maybe it was a little bit further on than that, that they looked at that, they reflected on it like 2 years after closing them, and they realized, like, what a terrible situation that is and how they're not going to repeat it. They're going to take lessons from that, and they're going to do better by all of their new studios, essentially. And that's paraphrased. It's not word for word what she said, but that was very much the sentiment. So
close enough.
No surprise that it came out. Purple Tree Frog, thank you for becoming a member. I know you were a member over on the Game on Daily channel for a long time as well. So good to see you around. Much appreciated. Do jump into our Discord, because I reckon you'll fit right in over there. And that's it, right? I think we've reached the end of our jolly show. I think we're going to move on to outro time. So everyone that has come through, whether you've hit the like button or not, I still appreciate you. Thank you for coming through. It is always good to have so many people here supporting us and talking to. Even Gamzly, he lies from time to time, but he loves you all. Even the hideous ones. Gamzly, you can do your outro first. What are you up to?
Yeah, no, thanks for coming and watching, everybody in chat. Seriously, I don't like these, sad little topics and stuff like that either, but thanks for sticking out and wanting to listen to what we say. We try our best, and thanks for supporting us. You can find me here on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel for the Xbox Series podcast every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I also make an appearance on Boom's show on Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time at Double Barrel Gaming. And anywhere else I pop up, I will let you know. Just keep an eye out for my Twitter handle, GamzlyTKD. So if I have anything to announce, I'll announce it there. I'm often jumping around different podcasts, so I'll give you a shout out if anything happens. So keep an eye out.
Thank you, Gamzly. We have one last surprise question from Doc Dark, who said, "Has Asa told you how nice I am at Halo?" Doc Dark did play Halo with us at one point. If you know him from YouTube and the rest of it, he's got way too much charisma for one human being, and he carries that energy into a Halo game. So if you ever need a squad leader that's going to entertain you, do play some Halo with Doc Dark. It was a funny time.
Doc, You're gonna have to come and join us on the Sunday community game night one night. Can't remember what time we go live, and annoyingly, it often clashes with my D&D game. But I'll try and smash like a Red Bull or something and make it after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be cool.
Right. Deadly Headley, it's your turn. Give us your outro.
Outro time. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming in and listening to us tonight. And yeah, we've had a lot of love and support and a lot of new faces in the chat, which is always really nice to see. So again, if you're new here and you haven't been here before, please make sure that you hit like, subscribe, share us out, all that stuff. We're on episode 14, which is crazy. It's gone really, really quick, but it's been really fun. So yeah, again, thank you for coming. Obviously, we are here every Thursday at 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 12 p.m. Pacific. Pacific. Sorry, mouth words. You can also find me on Twitter at deadlyheadley_. And most importantly, if you haven't found me on YouTube yet, please go and do that. My channel name is Deadly Headley, which I'm sure is going to be linked in the description and in the chat and all that sort of stuff as well. I make journalistic style content. I primarily focus, I almost exclusively focus on Xbox as a platform because it's my preferred platform to play on. But I do actually also play on PlayStation and occasionally Switch as well, more so with my partner. Yeah. I think that's it from me. Yeah. Check out my YouTube channel. Find me on Twitter. Obviously, you can find me here every week as well.
Awesome. You'll obviously find me here as well all the time. We've got community games coming up Saturday and Sunday, Arcadia Roundtable on Tuesday, Q&As from Wednesday, and then the Xbox Series podcast again next Thursday, and round we go. We do have video content about to start up on the channel as well. So reviews are coming back. We're gonna redesign reviews and fix the industry and make them good all around. So keep an eye on it. That's the mission anyway. And that is the end of the show. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
One more question.
Shit. How much of Gamzly is enough? Wait a minute, I need to check who's... So, how's it doing? How much of Gamzly is enough? It's a matter of perspective. Some people would say that any of Gamzly is too much. And some people would say you can never have enough. Deadly Headley, from your perspective, how much of Gamzly is enough?
I'm not sure I'll ever be able to get enough Gamzly because I think he's spectacular.
I think that covers that one off. And now
I can't even get enough of myself.
Well, we know that much, Gamzly. That's not, nobody needed to ask. That's the end of the show. Thank you, everybody.
Night, everybody. Bye.